Where it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Yay, TGIF. And happy Groundhog Day. So welcome back to Criminality. If you guys didn't know, that Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhog, did not see his shadow. Just FYI, in case anybody's interested. He did not see his shadow, so we're getting an early spring. Ta-da! Hope you guys weren't, waiting in suspense for that. But that's the information I have for you, and we'll get to it now. Hi, everybody. Hi, Shmita. What's up, Freeze Dry? Hi, Bean. I feel like I watched this yesterday. Because it's like all deja vu now. Hi, Malicious Intent. Tell the boys I said hi. Hi, PR. Hi, Unindicted Co-Conspirator. Ultimate Coordination Test. Can you watch a podcast and push a shopping cart? Ooh. Hi, Johnny. What's up, Jinx? Hey, Louise. Hi, ATS. Hey, Crystal. What's up, Jim? Hi, Cindy. Hi, Blue Butterfly. I like that. I love butterflies. Hi, Marshall. Yankee Ghost. Hey, Terry. Hey, Rebecca. Kyra. Sweet dude. Oh, Cindy, look at you. Coming in right off the bat. Oh, here's for a Dr. Pepper. I totally need it. I need Dr. Pepper to survive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, Dina. Grace. Hi, AJ. Hi, Kim. Hey, Journey Takes a Trip. All right, we're going to... Hi, Spicy. Hi, Wildlight Arts. Hi, the Royal Wheat. Where I am in Canada, it's been springish weather today, but last week, -30. We're having, sporadic rainstorms. And, was it last night? Gosh, I can't even think. Last night we had a hailstorm. Hi, Ivy Rose. What's up, Crimson? Hey, Shane. CW. She sells seashells by the seashore. She sells seashells, but you got to do the Peter Piper. I can do that one much better. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. How many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? Sally sells seashells. I see that one's tough for me. That's a tough one. Hi, True Crime Fangirl. Hey, Mama. All right, well, welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Hey, Melanie, Diana. Hey, Teresa. Okay, so I took yesterday. I was just like, I'm not doing anything. I didn't want to do anything yesterday. I was like, So, but I am working on something that's not Delphi related. So I want to tell you guys about that. If it's a case that you're interested in, because it's one that I have followed for a very long time and spent a lot of time putting things together for. True Crime Web. No, he's not. Punxsutawney Phil's a good boy. I think he's, what do they call it? I don't think he has a religion. Why can't I think of the name? Not atheist, the other one. Why am my brain's not working? But there's a trial starting next week on with Adam Montgomery, whose daughter, on the murder of his daughter, Harmony Montgomery. It's a case that it's been very close to me for a long time. And so I'm putting something together that I can hopefully put out, or maybe I'll just do a live on it with the background, the timeline. So anybody who isn't in the know of the case, but you are interested in learning about it, I'm going to do a live this weekend with all the background information and the timeline and, what we're looking at. So if you are wanting to watch it, but you're not familiar with it, or you are familiar with it, but want a refresher, then this weekend we're going to do a live just going through everything Harmony Montgomery and what happened to her, and she still has not been found. She's not been located. So his trial starts next week. So that's something I was working on yesterday when I wasn't doing anything Delphi related. So maybe, oh, he's a rodentist, John. But Harmony's case is finally going to have justice. Yep. I have not watched Gray's documentary. Followed that one from the start too. Okay, so if you guys are interested in that case, so I know that obviously there's things that are flying all over the place with Delphi, and I'm sure next week will be no different. So we may have to double up on a couple lives or whatever we do, so that, because I want to make sure that we keep Harmony's case in the forefront, and we also still catch up on everything that's Delphi related and needed. So just an FYI for anybody who might be interested in that. And so yesterday, it was interesting in the Delphi world, but it wasn't huge. It was just like, I don't even know, maybe a little eye roll. I don't even know. So I'm going to show you guys. And I'm sure everybody knows how much research do I do for these lives? Like, how many hours before a live do you do it? It depends on the live, to be honest with you. So with Delphi, I'm constantly researching, even if it's not for the live, but for the Prezi, which I need to get you guys an updated link because I have added a ton of stuff to it. So I'll do that right now and get you guys an updated link. I do have the last most current link. I keep it in the description. So from this video forward, it'll have the new link when I get it for you. So I'm constantly researching just stuff when it comes to Delphi, so I can put pieces together and have everything here. And every day I'm like, okay, I'm so much closer. I'm so much closer to having this thing done. And then I realize, no, I'm not. Then it's just more and more and more. And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with all the court stuff. So if there's a day that it's like we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about like court documents. So today I was spending my day still working on the Harmony Montgomery stuff, and then we'll do the court stuff. So obviously I don't need a ton of preparation to go over the court stuff because it's kind of already done for you. But with the other stuff, like I create timelines, which is also one of the reasons I absolutely love Sleuthie, because she creates amazing timelines and then I don't have to. So I'm normally creating timelines or just putting like files together on different things. If it's something, I know this isn't refreshing. If it's something that like I want to do like a whole case file like I've been doing with the Harmony, it's putting all like little videos together or things like that so I can show you. Not to mention I'm constantly watching trials. So that's kind of my life in a nutshell. I'm going to get you guys an updated link really quick, and then we'll get going on the documents. I really wish this just like self-updated. I don't really understand why it doesn't. But I think if you just Google it, if you Google like the Delphi Murders, Teresa Steffens, which is me, it should just automatically get you a new one. Delphi. We're going to call this one's 5. So this has even more stuff added to it. Once again, it's still not done. So, but here it is, and I will update it. I'll actually update it right now in the description of this video while we're on here. So it is there as well. Okay. So how do I find time? It's a full-time job. Well, luckily I do most of that when the kids are at school. And then I got to do all the mom stuff later. So hello to everybody who's just popped in. And I will drop it one more time just in case you didn't grab it. And there it is. And now let's get over here. Oh, I appreciate that. Okay, so let's see. So this is yesterday. Judge Gull goes and drops this quick order of court orders the state's motion to amend information filed on January 18th, 2024, which is where McLeland has asked to be able to update the charges. Because remember, we went through the amended charges, but they're not technically amended until the judge rules on them. So it's kind of just floating out there right now. So the court orders the state's motion to amend the information filed on January 18th, 2024, and the state's verified information of contemptuous conduct, which is the one we just went over. And she sets a hearing for February 12th at 9 a.m. in her court, which is the same place that the October 19th hearing was. What is this, Prezi? This is Teresa's brain about Delphi. Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy. Hey, Lambert. It is not done, AJ, so there's a lot to do with that. Doing that without asking about their calendar availability shows she's really just who dis. So she issues a transport order for Richard Allen to have to come. So once again, same courthouse in Allen County, which is where she's from, not the courthouse where the trial is currently supposed to be held, which is in Carroll County. So I find it interesting that once again, she's just quick on the draw. As soon as there's this contemptuous conduct that was filed January 29th, and today is February 2nd, this issue came out yesterday. So within like 2 days, she automatically puts a hearing in place to go and hear McLeland's motions. I saw this and I was just like, what the F? Like, I cannot imagine how she doesn't see, even if you don't believe she's biased, if you don't believe that she has bias, how anybody or herself doesn't see the perception to the public of bias. Like, I just can't wrap my mind around it. So we still have the outstanding motion that Lebrato and Scremin had put in for the motion to transfer. We have the disqualification motion that Baldwin and Rozzi put in about Judge Gull. Those are not even on here. Nothing to be heard about those two. And they were put in prior to either of these motions. Well, technically, the motion for transfer was then the motion to amend, and then the motion to DQ her, and then the contemptuous conduct of Baldwin and Rozzi. I just can't wrap my mind around it. And so she can't legally rule on any of these motions until the motion to DQ is taken care of. We've talked about this a few times. She has to. So what this put me into thinking is that she's going to do an order without a hearing, and we're just going to find it on the docket just before the 12th. So she'll just say, motion to DQ, Judge Gull denied, no hearing. If it even ends up on there, she might just say it, and then that's how it is. But so she's not even going to hear it. She does. That's my opinion. And if she was going to hear it, then it would be part of this. Otherwise, she would have had to have scheduled another one. So I just don't think she's even going to hear it. I think that we're going to see just something come down the pipeline, just saying, nope, sorry, denied, no big deal. The motion to transfer, I'm surprised she doesn't actually throw that one in with this, but I don't know. And I was going to ask Bob this yesterday and I forgot, but the motion to transfer, I'm wondering, because it's not Baldwin and Rozzi's motion, do they have to do something to say they actually want it to be their motion? It's so confusing having all these attorneys back and forth that it makes it hard to, do they have to put something in saying, yes, that's what we want? I wouldn't think so. But then when they were replaced, the other two, she was like, you have to adopt their motions. So, but I think that one's kind of neither here nor there, because the DQ one is probably the most important, since she can't make any decisions until she decides on that one. And since she's absolutely ignoring anything that the defense has to say, she's like, sorry, Baldwin, Rozzi, like, you mean nothing to me at this point. I don't care what you put in. I'm never going to look at it, and I'm not going to have a hearing on it. And you may not believe that, but if you don't perceive that that is possible, I don't even know anymore, because it just, every single thing that happens, She just says, here, no, I'm not even going to act. I'm not even going to act like you put them in. They're just non-existent. Right. Oh, thank you for joining, you guys. Mama and Danielle, thank you guys. How is this legal? Well, so here's the interesting part is there's not really a person. She doesn't really have a boss. So I think it's like unchecked authority. I mean, she has people that ultimately she obviously would have to answer to if motions are filed to do things, but there's nobody that's like watching her going, okay, we're gonna have to write you up and 3 strikes and you're out. There's nobody that's actually doing that. Like, things have to be sent to the right people in order for them to even kind of get involved. Like exactly. Like the disciplinary commission. But we don't know that that's happening. We've heard rumors that it's possibly happening, but we don't know. We don't have anything. There's no motions. There's no anything that we do. She would have to answer to them, but only if only if something's sent to them. It's the same as what we were talking about back in the day when she was saying what they did was gross negligence and so on and so forth, that she should have reported them, and she just didn't. She just didn't report them. She hasn't agreed on the other case yet. The order is just ready and proposed by defense and not signed. So, and if you guys remember, Baldwin is representing another young lady in a murder trial in front of Judge Gull, and he has requested for her to recuse herself there, which is also interesting because that happens when all the stuff was happening with the Supreme Court. Like, how does she not understand? Like, she's the judge. Like, this is where they're supposed to be like, okay, I understand that there's like this perception of bias. I understand that there is, the idea that it's a possibility because I know I don't like these guys. My own personal feelings may get in the way. Like, duh, of course they are. Like, you're a human being, and of course your personal feelings about these people is going to get in the way. I don't even know how else to do to talk about it. Like, she needs to just step down. And people are like, I really like Judge Gull. That's great. I'm glad that you like her. That's fine. I don't know her as a person. She may be the greatest mom, greatest grandma, greatest whatever, but she is not the right judge to reside over this trial. At this point, she's not. So let me see what you guys. He motioned for a different judge in that case the day before the Delphi DQ motion. She canceled the hearing for the other case that was set for the 12th and put Delphi on the 12th instead. Did she really? I didn't even know that. Hi, Laura. She hasn't recused herself on either case. And she's just like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to. The difference between the two cases is that Baldwin, on the other case, doesn't have the relationship, I should say, or the ability to say the same thing he does about Richard Allen, like that he's, the bond, they have a defense strategy already. So he could step away from that one and she could just get a new attorney, which may end up happening because, like I said, there's not the lengthy relationship between attorney and client yet. But with Richard Allen's case, any judge can come in. I shouldn't say any judge, but any judge could come in and preside over this case, and it would not affect Richard Allen's rights. Now, as we know, the Supreme Court already ruled that by removing Baldwin and Rozzi, that does conflict with his constitutional rights. So, hey, Sleuthie. Bob says that judges are to err on the side of prosecution, so she fits that, but she's more extreme. Well, I don't know about erring on the side of prosecution. They're the ones with the burden of proof, so she gives the leeway for them to be able to prove it, but she also any judge has to make sure that the defendant's constitutional rights are upheld. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So err on the side of letting the prosecution prove their case and then letting them defend it, I understand, but it's not with the perception of bias, she's got to make some different decisions, and she just doesn't. Like I said, I feel like it's just like unchecked authority. Yeah, you can't turn your feelings off. I mean, you can go in and you can play nice, but at the end of the day, you're just like, you don't do the same things that you do for the people that you like. You just don't. Hey, the Rockway, she wants to use her emotion and bias to railroad Allen and attorneys, and that's how you know she is fully on the dark side. That's it. Just don't get in trouble. There was a hearing scheduled for the Davis case on 2/12 at 9:30 a.m. That's canceled. Delphi's is scheduled same day, 9 a.m. Not sure how much time they usually schedule hearings for. Hey, Mags. So, well, I mean, okay. So we'll get to the next part too. Hi, Sleuthie. Today's families were idiotic, and they still didn't do it right. We haven't got there yet. So, we're just still talking shit about yesterday's, because this is just absurd. I could turn my feelings off there 99.9% of the time to begin. That's fair. More like the judges are biased towards prosecution because they normally work on that side before becoming judges, but they should lean toward defendants to protect their rights. Oh my goodness. Carry on with the shit talking. I sent you a link if you want to come up. I don't know if you saw it, by the way. I don't think you've checked it yet. Okay, so then there's a couple like odds and end things that happened today. So we'll just touch on those. She does grant the order for the motion to withdraw that I believe it was Lebrato had put in. I don't know if Scremin actually put one in or not. Somebody may correct me if I'm wrong. But she does grant the motion for him to withdraw. And then the motion for continuance is filed by Brad Rozzi. So this is what we're going to go over today. Okay. All right, Sleuthie. Sounds good. Hi, Ariel. What I've heard too, and judges were defense attorneys before tend to lean toward the defense side. Yeah, well. Oh, did they, Frank Meister? Okay, thank you. And hi, hello. Hi, Shelly. Is this the new one? This is the motion for continuance that Rozzi filed today. I didn't realize. I think that, yeah, that was weird. I don't understand how this is being allowed to continue this way. It is clear that this all stinks. He has no voice, innocent until proven guilty. What a joke. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here, Sarah. I appreciate it. Yeah, don't be driving through Indiana. I know Sleuthie's like, I'm never even going to Indiana. Hold on. Let me just double check this real quick. Ariel, oh, you're talking about the redacted one that came out today. Yeah, we're gonna touch on that too. And I think that's what Sleuthie's gonna come up because she's got some stuff she wants to share. Okay, so let's go through this really quick. Not really quick, but so this is from Brad Rozzi. Things like, damn it. Hey, just Deb. Okay, thank you. Just wasn't sure if anyone was able to get it. Yeah, so we have that too. Yeah. And then, okay, so let me do this. Dun, dun, dun. Let's blow this up. Give me 1 second, you guys. All right. So, and Black Swan, thank you for joining. I don't know if I was able to thank you when it popped up, so I want to make sure I say thank you. So Brad Rozzi puts in the motion for continuance, and he cites, I think it's about 5 different things that, like reasons on why this hearing should not happen. There's no order from her yet on what she's going to do about this, but we're going to read through it so you guys can see. So comes now Attorney Bradley Rozzi and respectfully requests that this court continue the February 12, 2024 hearing on the verified information of contemptuous conduct filed by prosecutor Nicholas McClelland. So I don't think that he cares as much about the amended charges, because Baldwin would be there to handle that. But this is very personal towards Baldwin and Rozzi, and we're going to see what he has to say about it. The dog just came in here eating ice, so you hear the crunching in the background. Hi, Kelt. No, we figured it would take about 2 weeks. So, I mean, we should probably be hearing their written opinion anytime, which they do bring up in this as well. And that's the point that I was making for a while. And I thought they wouldn't be doing any of this kind of stuff until at least we got the opinion from the Supreme Court on why they made the decisions that they made. So maybe they know that, they know something that we don't know. On January 29th, 2024, Prosecutor McClelland filed a verified information of contemptuous conduct. Within said information, Prosecutor McClelland alleged that Attorney Rozzi engaged in conduct that amounted to indirect contempt of this court's orders. 3 days later, this court scheduled the state's information for a hearing on February 12th at 9 a.m. in the Allen Superior Court. The February 12th hearing was scheduled by the court without any consultation with Attorney Rozzi's office regarding Rozzi's availability. And Attorney Rozzi is scheduled to be out of the state of Indiana on personal matters and is therefore unable to attend. Because of the timing of the state's filing, Attorney Rozzi has only 11 days to prepare for said hearing. I put the question mark there. They did not, FYI. Attorney Rozzi has yet to consult with an attorney as of the date of the filing of this motion. The accelerated scheduling of the hearing prohibits Attorney Rozzi and his future legal representative from conducting any meaningful discovery regarding the state's allegations, which appeared to have stemmed from a side investigation into leaked photos. Look at the contempt pleading that was conducted by the same investigative team that investigated the crimes in this case. It seems only fair that Attorney Rozzi would be entitled to conduct discovery on such a matter before facing sanctions that could result in Attorney Rozzi's imprisonment. Now, we talked about this when we went over the contempt, and we talked about what the difference is between, what she can do with contempt. She can give them a fine. She can put them in jail, and what the difference is between like the work product and what the difference is between the actual discovery items. Now, even if you err on the side that the defense screwed up and they somehow let things out, or one of them somehow let things out, I think that it's very imperative to make sure that they are 2 different people. But this is from Attorney Rozzi. So if you just look at it from just his point of view, he's like, I'm facing sanctions for essentially something I had nothing to do with. And I'm going to have an attorney represent me, which, hell yeah, he should have an attorney to represent him when he's being accused of doing something like this. Other people are like, oh, ha, 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 he's got to get an attorney. And I'm like, that's okay. So that could result in his imprisonment. Attorney Rozzi would further report that the moving party, Prosecutor McClelland, has communicated to Attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin that he will no longer engage in telephonic communications with Attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin in this case. Prosecutor McClelland has limited all communications through email correspondence. Therefore, the flow of information between the state and Attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin is limited. This right here, I'm telling you right now, I don't think they should have been doing much on the phone anyway. That's where I'm at with it. I've always said that. It's too off the record. I don't think they should do it. I know people are like, well, they should be able to communicate. I don't think they should be able to communicate anything that is not on record. Because look at where we've gotten. We got to this very big part of the he said, well, it's he said, she said, he said in this situation. And they shouldn't be talking like that, because now it's, we were on the phone and we said this, and they're like, no, we were on the phone and you didn't say this, you said this, and then they should not be doing it. They should not have any conversation. So I'm fine with that. I think it's a very good idea. We would not be here right now, in my opinion, had they not done all this off the cuff, off the record crap that this case has done in the last just 6 months. Okay, sorry, I had a cough. So, okay, number 8. A plain reading of Indiana Code 344736, the statute articulating the potential punishment to be handed down by the court in a contempt finding, authorizes the court to punish indirect contempt by way of a fine, imprisonment, or both a fine and imprisonment. As such, Attorney Rozzi is entitled to obtain representation for purposes of defending against the allegations of contempt. I absolutely think so. An indirect contempt, which is at issue here, requires an array of due process protections, including notice and the opportunity to be heard. Surely these protections would amount to more than 11 days of advance notice. The allegations in the state's information fail to accurately categorize the contemptuous behavior as being grounded in either civil or criminal contempt. And Bob brought this up on Defense Diaries, and he was like, they don't actually say which one it is, and that they filed it almost with the incorrect title of information, if you would. So, however, the pleading was filed within the MR cause number and not in an unrelated civil miscellaneous cause. Moreover, this is a lot for me. I don't know the difference between the MR and the MI. Maybe somebody in here does. Moreover, the allegation is couched as an information for contemptuous behavior as opposed to a citation. And that's what Bob was saying. For contempt, and therefore it is logical to conclude that the relief sought by Prosecutor McClelland is akin to that associated with criminal attempt. So civil contempt can't result in imprisonment. It would just be a fine. Okay. Hey, Adrian. Hi, Shay Bay. Good to see you, honey. Hey, Carol. Okay. So just making sure that civil contempt is supposed to be filed in a civil case. Criminal contempt is supposed to be filed in a criminal case. Okay. Well, so I'm not really sure which one is, how this is actually filed then. So he's saying that it looks like it's supposed to be going with criminal contempt. It's logical to conclude that that McClelland wants criminal contempt. And while the information does not specifically contain a prayer for relief, the pleading does reference the re-victimization of the victims' families, which is immeasurable and incurable. This verbiage is grounded in criminal contempt. Therefore, Attorney Rozzi is entitled to the appointment of a special judge pursuant to this Indiana code. And logically, the process of selecting the special judge should occur before any hearing on the allegations takes place. So he's not going to be there. He thinks he needs a special judge. He needs time for discovery. And nope, she's not wanting to do any of this. So we'll see what she ends up filing. They filed it in Richard Allen's murder cause, MR, and not in his own civil cause, MI. Okay, thank you. So then it looks like it is contempt or criminal contempt. I get where that's coming from then. Attorney Rozzi would also note that on January 28, 2024, defendant Richard Allen, by and through his attorneys Rozzi and Baldwin, filed a verified motion to disqualify Judge Francis C. Gull. It is well settled that when an affidavit for a change of judge is filed in a proper case, based on the bias and prejudice of the judge, the court has no discretion in the matter. Moreover, the court cited the defendant. In this case, the court decided that the defendant cited the defendant for contempt for failure to comply with an order issued by the court prior to the filing of the request for the change of judge, which is what McClellan was talking about. This factual scenario is nearly identical to the one that exists in this case. Attorney Rozzi asserts that at the present time, this court has no authority to conduct a contempt proceeding of any nature. Attorney Rozzi would further note that there remains pending the issuance of a full and final opinion stemming from the Indiana Supreme Court's published order of January 18th. It seems only logical that no further action regarding the allegations of misconduct should occur until the court issues the full opinion, giving further guidance regarding its order reinstating Rozzi and Baldwin. Essentially saying, if we wait for the Supreme Court's opinion, then we would know if the Supreme Court said, hey, this is said and done, they're back, everything from beforehand, which is the same stuff that McClellan is now bringing up in this contempt, is already done. It's squashed. It's done. It's not there. Or does the Supreme Court state, hey, we're going to just rule on Richard Allen's constitutional right to the attorneys of his choice. We'll send it back down to the trial court, and then the trial court can do what's necessary. Because remember when we were watching it, there was the one Supreme Court justice that kept like pushing, like, why don't you have us, to Gull's attorneys, why don't you have us ruling on the merits of her disqualifying them versus just the fact that she's allowed to disqualify anybody. So that made us kind of like look at it like, where are they going to tell her that she should just go back and do it the way she was supposed to do it? Are they just like resetting everything back to, October and saying, hey, if you want to disqualify them, then hold the hearing. If you want to, if they want to try to disqualify the judge, then they have to re-put the motion in and just kind of reset it and everything go back to the trial court. So having the knowledge between those two things would, if the Supreme Court says, hey, no, we're done with that, they're his attorneys, no matter what the heck you want, you have no right to remove them, then this whole point of this contempt hearing is moot. It doesn't mean anything. So that's why I said maybe she knows something that we don't know, but she can't just go around all willy-nilly. So what's going to happen? They come in and she, finds them in contempt. She's not going to remove them. She's just going to fine them or put them in jail, but she's going to leave them there. It's such a cluster. Okay, so I don't know where I stopped off. The procedural circumstances surrounding the case. Ironically, the anticipated opinion in this case stems from the filing of an original action, which was also the case in Ballard, referenced above. Therefore, there is precedent that the conduct of a trial court judge in the face of a pending motion to disqualify is appealable in the form of an original action. So stating like, hey, you're going to go around and just start, making orders on all this, then we're going to have to go back to the Supreme Court anyway. There's no harm in awaiting the opinion of the Indiana Supreme Court, affording Attorney Rozzi the opportunity to consult with and retain counsel, allowing Attorney Rozzi an opportunity to conduct discovery on the state's allegations, and most importantly, adjudicating Richard Allen's motion to disqualify. Wherefore, Attorney Rozzi respectfully requests that this court continue the February 12, 2024 hearing on the state's verified information of contemptuous conduct and reset the matter on a date and time convenient for all parties and the court. So, we don't have a ruling on that yet, but I get it. I get that she's the judge. I get it. But she's just like, she has no care in the world for anything that's happening on the defense side of it. She's just like, I don't give a shit. And you can say that's not true, but I can tell you right now, that is my perception, is that she just has I don't give a shit about what the defense team says, wants, motions, files, anything. Let's compare whose signature is bigger. Let me see. Oh, his is pretty big. It's just a couple loops though. Okay. All right. Oh, Sleuthie's here. Hi, Sleuthie. Can you hear me? You're muted. There you are. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can.
Hi.
Is the screen... Okay, I see it now. Okay. I'm sure it's me.
You're dead to me. All right. So
Wait,
we haven't talked about the redacted motions yet. So what do you think of where's your head at with these?
with the one you just read?
Yeah.
So I think he worded it very well. I think he was fairly calm. For as angry as I felt like I would have been had I saw that order come through. I think he did well. I think that last kind of sentence right before I hit the join button, where he says basically that if you're going to keep fucking around, we're going to go back to the Supreme Court, and they've already overturned you once.
Yep.
And I think that was like a promise. Like if you're going to insist on continuing with this, we absolutely will. Like we're ready to file another writ. And I personally, so they issued an order, but they haven't issued their written opinion yet. They are still able to amend their order and amend like the opinion. If say they're writing it right now, which they may not even be, they can amend it to whatever they need to. And I have a feeling that today's filing of all the redacted things, and I sent you the emails, and I think what happened here is she's aware that he just said that he filed that, and then on top of it, you have at the oral arguments, you have the Supreme Court bringing up a filing out of the blue, the one for the motion to transfer, and that was because they had been watching the docket. So they, at that point when she brought that up, she already knew that like they were filing things like the motion to transfer and making the affidavit confidential again for no reason. So I think they're watching, and I think that that this is not going to be lost on them. The fact that even the first writ was not, essentially she just told them what they wanted to hear so that they would deny it, because then she continued to do the same thing.
Is this number 1 or number 2?
So that's number 2. The other one is the one that I originally wrote out. Yeah. Okay. Because then I just forwarded it to him. But this was the one I originally wrote out to the clerk, to Gull. I think just the clerk and Gull.
Okay, let me see. So this is, okay, here's, Gull and the clerk of the court. Okay, so Ms. Wilburn, I understand, and I am already in possession of the affidavit of Suzanne Moeller. What I am attempting to clarify here is why Judge Gull determined that it should be marked confidential, and where is the reflection of that decision required under the ACR rules located? In the last email I received regarding this particular filing, you stated you were informed that Judge Gull did not mark the exhibit or affidavit as confidential, but that Richard Allen's attorney e-filed it as confidential. As I explained, not only is that not the case, but even if it were, there are requirements pursuant to the ACR rules that must be followed. Had the attorneys e-filed the affidavit as confidential, he would be required to also file a notice of exclusion form from the ACR form at the time of the filing, identifying the specific basis for exclusion. I don't know how they don't get this. It's like, why do you not understand this yet? I
Today, and they still didn't do it right. He didn't list the specific he didn't cite the reason why he was allowed to redact Kara's name, because that's really all he did.
Right. So at the time of the filing, identifying the specific basis for exclusion, considering this did not accompany the filing, and the fact that the filing was available on the docket before its subsequent removal, I do not believe that waiting for now withdrawn counsel to explain what may have happened here will be productive. I fucking love you. If Judge Gull is who made the filing confidential, contrary to what we were told last week, there is still no indication on the record that proper procedures were followed when doing so. I have once again attached a recent Supreme Court order which clarifies and confirms the requirements I stated above.
It was our Supreme Court order, just so you know, and it was highlighted. It was hers.
a recent Supreme Court order that happens to be about you, Judge Gull.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. If someone could please provide the details of who marked this filing as confidential, the reason it was marked as confidential, and explain as to why the proper procedure was not followed here, that would be great. Because as it sits currently, the affidavit ceases to exist in the CCS. This is so good. This is so good.
So then so that went to the clerk and Gull. Now, last time me and Bob emailed Gull, she emailed us back at 5:30 in the morning. But then when we asked her to cite a specific statute, she never responded. So then when I sent this one, I thought that including the Supreme Court order might possibly prompt some type of let me now finally go look for whatever excuse I'm going to use in the rule to have been able to do that. But nobody responded except for the clerk, who is repeatedly thrown under the bus. I feel bad, and I hope she knows. I have a feeling she knows, but I just hope she knows that I'm not my aggression or passive aggression is not towards her, and I think she knows that. It's
not towards her. It's towards her.
Yeah. Once she saw I tagged Gull, I'm sure she was like, oh. And so, but the clerk emailed me back, and she's like, I forwarded it again to Allen County. What is it?
So is that the next one?
No.
Oh.
So
she
emailed me back, and she said I forwarded it again to Allen County since you hadn't heard back yet. I don't really know what to tell you until we hear back from them. I only know what I was told the other day. So then I was given that Facebook post that you see here in this one, and it mentions the prosecutor. So I forwarded the email you just read to Nick and that message.
Okay, so this is now to the prosecutor, and it says, "Good evening. Please see the forwarded message below, as I have yet to receive any clarity on this issue. I am reaching out to you, inspired by this post by the Carroll County Clerk, in hopes that you can provide an explanation. I understand that this post is old, but I imagine that the same clerk continues to follow this protocol in terms of what records are deemed public and which aren't. I look forward to hearing from you." And the post is from November 3rd of 2022.
So this was the morning. This was the morning before Diener recused himself.
Yeah. They're like, we're busy. We don't have time for this. This is from the county clerk's office, FYI. So I have been getting calls and such, both personally and to my office, from citizens encouraging me to stand strong against the media. I, as you can expect, have been getting calls from the media wanting sealed records. It matters not how I feel about any of what has been going on this week. Please know that I will follow the law no matter what. I cannot and will not do things or take actions that go against the laws. I don't have an attorney on staff, and I rely on our prosecutor and our judge in making decisions on records, and will continue to do so moving forward. I am but a minor player in all of this. Thank you for your thoughts, prayers, as my staff and I move forward with this situation and next week's election. That's so nice of her to throw that in there. And next week's election. Yeah, Sleuthie's doing the Lord's work.
So yeah, I got no response, obviously, even though we know Nick emails at 4:00 in the morning. And so when today, and the only reason I know that is what prompted today was because I got sent all the documents without asking. She emailed every one of them to me.
Wait, all the documents about, okay, so let me pull that up. Hold on.
She emailed me the motion to transfer again. She emailed me the redacted version of the affidavit. She sent me the redacted version of Randy Jones's pictures and this thing right here that you have pulled up.
Okay. So this is interesting though, because it's not about sending them to you. Do they not really understand? You know what I mean? They're not like, well, if we just send them to her, she'll shut up and she'll leave us alone. And it's like, no, you're missing the point that you can't just not have any of this stuff like on the record. You can't just do all this stuff willy-nilly behind the scenes and act like it's okay because I sent them to Sleuthie. You know what I mean? They still have to put everything on there, which is ultimately what they end up doing here. But now comes the defendant by and through his appointed counsel, Robert Scremin and William Lebrato, and hereby submits this notice of exclusion. Now, it is these attorneys because they are the ones who put in the motion for transfer. And what ends up coming out as redacted is the motion for transfer. So just anybody who needs to know like why it's them, that's why, because they're the ones who submitted the motion. They're the ones who have to submit for it to be retracted. You think they gave two shits about it being retracted? I highly doubt it, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he's the one that like, I don't believe for a single moment that he's the one that wanted that affidavit, because he would have filed it that way.
Right. Well, she's trying to tell you that he did file the other one that way.
Yeah. Yeah, but they did.
Okay, so I didn't pull up the rest of it. I think you have it all posted on Twitter, but I just pulled up this one because I thought this was funny, because ultimately all that ends up being redacted from these items is is Kara's name. They take her name out and act like that they redacted her personal information.
Can you believe that?
Like, that is not just silly. Like that was like an excuse in my opinion, but I know that other people are going to disagree. But in my opinion, that is an excuse of why it was taken down. And it's like, okay, what can we do to put it back up?
And also, and so like, obviously she didn't care. People know who she is. She represented him already. So there was that. But then at the same time, she's like, number one, I don't care. Number two, they still did it wrong, because that's not a reason. Like, redacting a non-party, that's not a reason. That's not a reason to exclude it. So,
not to mention that her name is actually on the CCR.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, so you put
they don't
out
go around redacting any other attorney's names. They're not pulling down stuff and redacting anybody else's name except for hers.
Yeah, and you can redact it. That's like, if you choose to redact it, that's fine. But it's not a reason to have excluded it from the record in the first place.
So then they switch out the photos, which is still silly. So they switch out the photos of this is the redacted version of the photos from the guard. What's his name? Why can't I think of his freaking name right now?
Randy Jones. Now, if he's bold enough to walk around with that face tat, I don't think that, like, we already know it's you, Randy. You know what I mean?
We know
you're the guard,
you,
Randy.
But I mean, like, if this was an issue, then they would have said that from the get-go anyway. Like, hey, this can't be public because this does need to be redacted, or this, the photos need to be cropped and so on and so forth, so that it's not identifying who it is. But so then my question is, and I should have actually grabbed it, in this redaction, do they remove his name?
No, he's not removed. No, because he was in the memo.
Right. So they don't. But I mean, Kara's in other court documents, they remove her name. So do they remove Randy? They don't remove Randy's name.
Remove Randy's name? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No.
Do you have? I think you posted them on here. Did you not?
No, I just said that they cropped Randy's pictures and redacted Kara's name.
Yeah,
but they don't write his name in the affidavit. Is that what you're saying? Did they write Randy Jones in the affidavit? I don't believe they did. I think they just mentioned him as a guard.
I thought they actually put his name in there.
Maybe they did, now that I'm thinking about it.
I think they did, because that's when I was like, wait a minute, that's the same freaking guard.
Let me look. I'm kind of thinking that you're right, but I can't remember if it was the motion to transfer or if it was...
I think it's in the motion to transfer, not the affidavit. Yeah, it's redacted. So, it's redacted in this one, in the affidavit too. I later located a Facebook profile for redacted, including a photo of redacted with the same face of Odin's spear, wearing a necklace with Thor's hammer. The hammer necklace worn by redacted was inscribed. Yeah, so they did. They went in and took out his name too. So they took out Randy Jones's name.
Well, I mean, isn't the horse like out of the barn already? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, yeah.
So
Randy's
we already
name
know
is
what all
redacted.
this says. It's nothing new. It's just, I think that Nick filed for that contempt, whatever, and she put out that order. Like, she has put out orders. So, like, today, the clerk, she sent me the order that Gull put in on the 29th, granting their motion to withdraw, and it's not file stamped. So like it doesn't even look like it's been filed. Like it doesn't have her stamp on it. So I said, so she sent it to me and it looked exactly the same as the one that was floating around, except obviously clearer. And I said, that takes care of my email from last night. Is there any particular reason why it's not stamped filed as the rest are? And her response was, I had to print it off from the events tab instead of the normal documents tab. I cannot explain why it looks different. To be honest, I don't even look at them. I just send what is requested if able to be sent.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, and Ivy Rose asked a good question because they're not actually stating any of the legal standard on why that's redacted.
Right, that's why it's still not correct.
Oh, right here, Administrative Rule 9G5. Notice that's the form.
Yeah, that's just the form. Again, a non-party to this. That's not a reason to have made it. Like you can't, like, you're not just redacting it, right? The reason you're redacting it is because you want it to be confidential, but there's a very limited number of times that something can be filed as confidential. And even when it is, you still have to put out a public version that is redacted. Like, to cut off a filing entirely from the public is extreme. It's supposed to be like a last resort.
This may look like fire, but it's actually a diamond.
Cool.
Lighting on his tail.
Minecraft?
No, some kind of, I don't know what it is. It's kind of Legos pieces. Are you getting tired? Your one eye is half closed. You got a lazy eye.
I can't believe it.
Hey, who dis? Yeah, I'll just type it in here real quick. It's criminality187@gmail.com. They want to know if you work in the law, and if you don't, why don't you, Sleuthie?
No, but when I want to sound like I'm more important than I am, I usually just CC Bob on emails.
Freaking Bob's good for something.
Like, I didn't even ask. Like, he woke up at like 4:00 in the morning and was like, that email is fire. I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you that I was going to put your name on it, send it to Cleveland.
All access has been cut off in this case also, but no one is paying attention. Hold on, let me read your
People are paying attention. Fiend has been asking me to get documents for something. And I was like, listen, I'm in like a mini war with these people right now. Once we get this,
they just want to pacify you. So they just are like, okay, here, we'll send it to her, so she just leaves us the fuck alone.
What I'm curious about, yeah, but what I'm curious about is they made it look like it was filed on the 2nd, and obviously it was not. So I'm curious if the other one's going to disappear, and like now it's going to be, well, now I can't rule on it because, like, if I can't rule on anything because there's a motion to disqualify, then I can't rule on this motion to transfer, even though that was entered before.
Correct.
But it'll be an excuse not to transfer.
She doesn't even have that schedule. She doesn't have anything to do with the transfer schedule.
I know.
It's not. She didn't even put that, which is the one I was actually surprised about. Is if she's going to schedule this hearing, why doesn't she at least put that one in there?
I'm surprised it wasn't just automatically denied.
Well, you have McClellan coming in with his response saying, these are all the reasons that I care, but ultimately I don't care. But here's the reasons I care. So,
yeah. He also basically says, like, everyone's a liar but him. Like, all these other lawyers are lying. He's not, though. And I'm sorry. And I said this before. Like, those photos of that, whatever it was in the kitchen, like, it didn't do his argument no favors. You know what I mean? It was like exactly what they said.
Ariel said Administrative Rule 9G5 doesn't exist. Is that true? Hold on, I'm going to have to look this up now.
I didn't double check them.
I didn't either.
And I was doing this until, so prior to them going to the Supreme Court and even all the way up to the order. Like, I had been downloading the whole docket like a couple times a day because shit was disappearing. And then I stopped because I thought, okay, well, now that the Supreme Court has said you have to do it, and she kind of knows that they're paying attention because they've recognized that this other filing was filed for the motion to transfer, I stopped. And clearly I shouldn't have. So now I'm going back and doing that again. And like, that's not supposed to happen. Like, nobody, not even me, who I think I'm a thorn in their side, but even just a regular person, like, I should not be feeling the need to download the docket multiple times a day to see if they're hiding documents.
That's ridiculous to even have to feel that anybody would need to do that.
Exactly.
That is crazy.
Yep.
Okay, so here's Administrative Rule 9G5, Notice of Exclusion of Confidential Information from Public Access and Confidential Information Excluded from Public Access. If you are the plaintiff or defendant in a civil case or the defendant in a criminal case, and you are filing a paper or document with the court and some of the information required is confidential, for example, social security numbers or bank accounts, and then the white copy, that doesn't, I don't know, is required. The information required is confidential. I don't know if Kara's name would be required to be confidential. So
no, but phone numbers, maybe, obviously bank accounts and social security numbers.
That's old.
So what do you think? Like, let's get thoughts. Like, do you think that she's going to deny it, the continuance, and they're going to have to go do another writ, which I'm sure they'll be happy to do. You know what I mean? It's probably already written in anticipation of her doing that. Or do you think she's going to give the continuance? I think she's going to deny it.
I feel like I don't, knowing her, I feel like she's going to deny it. But I mean, if you go with like what the right thing to do here is, it's like,
yeah, whatever that is, the opposite.
They'll do the opposite of, and that's a terrible opinion to have.
The fact that that's even the response means it's time to recuse.
Well, this is what I was talking about earlier. I'm like, I don't get like the just even the simple basis of I don't like them is, it should be very easy to say my personal opinions. I cannot be sure that they wouldn't get in the way.
Yeah. Well, and I thought that, and he listed obviously many more reasons, but I felt like it's a logical reason just simply to say, you have made clear that your opinions of us is that we're negligent and incompetent. So clearly you can't, in a non-biased way, rule on our motion. You think we're incompetent. So like, you as a judge, then if you think I'm negligent and incompetent, your responsibility then will be to rule against me. That's automatically what you're going to, because I'm incompetent and negligent.
Which she's already stated.
Say. Exactly.
So there's no way that she's going to look at anything they have and go, okay, well, this now you're competent, even though her own attorneys said that they're highly intelligent and competent attorneys. Yeah. Her attorney thinks they're competent, but she does not. I can't, like, the easiest solution here is to just step down. She does not have to preside over this case. She does not have to.
I have to tell you, yesterday I was like messaging a lot of people, and I just felt incredibly what?
You're like, I was messaging a lot of people, and I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I was trying to like keep because I was like ready to rapid fire out emails, and I was like, let me not for right now, just stop. Like, I was getting ready, and I may still do it. Like, I was getting ready to forward all kinds of threads to Chief Justice Rush. Like, that's how irritated I was about everything that's happening. And I was like, I'm feeling very I don't know if the word is defeated or not, but just like really sad and also very concerned and scared, I guess. Like this I don't know. I don't see how anyone could possibly be looking at everything that's happening here and not be concerned about the fact that it's continuing to happen and there's literally nothing anyone can do. Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, there's no one, it's entirely unchecked power. And like, I was like, what about mentors or whatever? Like, whatever they call like the mentor judges.
No,
And Kara was like, she is it. She's it.
she's the mentor.
So like nobody's gonna step in and say, you can't do that because like she's the one that should be doing that. Like that should be really concerning.
Okay, so here's the question, and I don't know if you actually even know the answer to this, because the rumor has been that that people are filing with the Judicial Commission that she is essentially out of line.
I will.
Well, we don't see that.
I will 100% tell you. I don't know if other people are doing it, but I can tell you that me and other actual lawyers are like waiting for the opinion to be written, and we
And
will
then,
be filing like ourselves. But we want to be
okay,
able to use the opinion.
and do they look at ones that are written from outside? Well, one, just civilians, and two, outside of Indiana civilians?
Civilians,
Can you?
yes. We weren't sure about outside of Indiana, but we can, like, there's a way to have it filed from someone in Indiana.
Well, I'm sure that
Mhm.
there's plenty of people that are in Indiana that would be happy to file something.
Yeah. Well, people get scared, right? You know, because like you can't. It's not like an anonymous thing. Like you have to put your information down and your name, and it's given to the judge, and you know what I mean. So, but and it's not even just Indiana. Like they might have to be it might have to be someone from the county, you know. So, but we're gonna figure it out anyway. Um, I just feel like this is just very frustrating. It should be very worrisome. And that's like not being dramatic and like let's forget about Rozzi and Baldwin. Forget them just in general. Just the behaviors. Period. My conversations with the clerk. You know, it can't. It's not supposed to be like this.
Chelsea said,
This
I
is
filed a
total
complaint.
unchecked fuckery. It's not supposed to be like this.
Well, that's what it is. It's absolutely like unchecked authority. She just has just does whatever the hell she wants. And I get that she's the judge. I do. But I'm like, there's gotta be just she obviously can't manage herself. So there's gotta be a step-in process that says you can't manage your own self. You can't be here.
There's no way that there are not other judges like in that district that if they were presented with this stuff, let's say an anonymous one, like with no judge's name, just, Judge A, we'll call this person, and then write everything that has happened. There's no way that they would think that all of this is acceptable. The problem is when you then say, well, it's Gull, and Gull is the one that's supposed to be looking after you, then they don't really want to say something, Like you can't leave all judges to be the ones to like let each other know when there's misconduct of some sort, because especially if you're going to have one who's like I remember now I have to go back and look in my timeline, but Doug Carter had to do a press conference essentially apologizing. This was like, I don't know, a couple months ago, or it was when I put it in there. It was a couple months, maybe September. And he, what happened was someone had gotten to a high speed chase with the Indiana State Police and ended up hitting and killing two people, and they were released on bond. And he made comments about that. Well, then he had to have a press conference to apologize. And he was saying that an entire overhaul needs to happen, that someone needs to come in and do a audit of everything that's going on there. And he was mentioning, one of the reporters said something to the effect of, is it like an election thing? If people are electing the judges to come in, then can't they do something to have them removed and have somebody else come in? And he said that all counties in Indiana, except for 3, they are appointed there, or all of the counties in Indiana, except for 3, are elected, but 3 are appointed. And Allen County was one of them. So
she took over for somebody else's term, if I remember right. I know we were looking into this back towards the beginning of all this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think she was actually elected in. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying. I don't think the people have any power to because they didn't put her there.
Yeah. So I mean, she has to be elected again, or she's just now there? That's just how it is. How long is her term?
Let me look.
Allen County cannot be recalled. Amy has to be. Gull has to know how she's coming across. I question what is so important to her that losing her reputation is secondary. That's what I was thinking too. I don't know. She knows that she can't. She knows that she can't preside over this without having some bias about her feelings. That's it. That's it. That's all she needs. And then she goes, okay, I can step down. Once she knows that, that's it. But she won't accept it. It's the craziest shit to me.
So I guess I don't know what happened prior to. But then when the Allen Superior Court Board of Judges elected her just recently, the term is now 2 years. And see, I think that's a little bit sketchy because they can call it that she was elected, but if it was only the Board of Judges and not the people, then it's really she was appointed.
She was appointed, yeah.
And so that's 2 years. It's a 2-year term.
Okay, so yeah, who just says they are appointed and would have to be removed by the same people who put them there. 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then keep that in mind. I'm going to write that. So then the Allen Superior Court Board of Judges. That's who put her there.
So contact them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But are they that oblivious? So when they go to appoint people, do they not look at what's happening in their current cases,
Well, she was appointed before any of this was happening. No, when was she appointed?
Well, I don't know. It says January 2nd.
Well, she's been the judge since what, November?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dean says once you're in, you're in. That's fucking scary.
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard. Yeah.
So she was appointed first, but then won a general election in 2020, and her term ends in 2026. But she ran unopposed. Jesus Christ. Travis was telling us last night that they call that elected, but it's really just a position that all judges are forced to do when their time comes around. That's the newer one. That's the one that she just got.
Administrative something or
yeah,
other.
the administrative one. And that's the one they do 2 years, and then it goes to the next one. And that's just a rotation. Nancy would like to know anything that anybody in Indiana can do to help that you know of.
You know what I just don't get? I just don't get, if she's feeling unwell, they told us that she was feeling unwell and other Superior Court judges were helping her. So these motherfuckers aren't stepping up and saying something. Are they aware of that? Are other judges actually helping her and allowing this? Because then I have a bigger problem. My problem grows if that's the truth.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, she doesn't listen to anything anybody says. So is another judge going to come in there and say, hey, we need, you might want to be cautious of this? And she's like, yeah. Okay, thanks. Nope. I'll do what I want. I do what I want.
I guess. I mean, I think it's clear. To me, it looks like this February 12th thing, the whole purpose of this is to redo what she thought was going to happen on the 19th of October.
Well, that's where I'm at, is with the Supreme Court. Did they essentially say, or are they going to say, I should say, in this opinion, like, we're going to reinstate them, and anything that can be done at the trial level, go back to the trial court, and then you guys, like, essentially start over. You know, you did it wrong. You can't do it that way. So if you want to do it, then go back and do it that way. Or is the opinion going to state something along the lines of, this is done. Because that one guy said, we're not ruling on the merits of her removing them. We're moving on her right to remove them. You know what I mean? Like, so that's problematic for me. And one of the questions I had when the whole thing happened was, does that mean they're going to go back and all this is going to happen again? And I really hoped it wouldn't, but it seems that everything I think should happen, everything happens the opposite of it. So
yeah, but I feel like, and that's why I feel like it's bizarre that people are not waiting for the written opinion, because what if they say that none of those reasons are reasons for her to remove them? Let's just say that. Well, then, well, maybe that's why Nick wrote his whole thing up, because maybe now they're going to make it a different reason, a criminal reason. Like, when I read that and he was like that it was either imprisonment or fines, like, we're not talking sanctions. Like, I'm like, is this real life right now?
So Lynn says, you said they needed a hearing, so here you go. Yes, but now the problem is the judge that's presiding over it is showing immense bias. And so she can't. She should have done the hearing to begin with. She should have done it the right way to start. Now that she didn't, and now that it's so, like, their relationship is so tumultuous, like, there's just no way that no matter what she does is ever going to come across like she's doing it for the good of the process. Everything she does is going to look like she's doing it for the good of her or Nick.
When I saw that contempt thing come up, when that she ordered the hearings, immediately I thought of Lebrato's, because he's done other interviews, dude. And I'm like, yep. I'm like, just what exactly is going on here?
What other interviews has he done?
There was one this morning that I saw, like, really early, with a local. Just type in, like, his name; it should pop up.
I'm going to right now.
It was different. He was, like, sitting in his office via Zoom, but it's just when he added that thing about if he's going to get a fair trial, she's the judge that it'll be. And then I'm thinking, okay. And then Barbara's like, well, they withdrew, and then he spoke to Gull personally, and she said that was fine that he do interviews. And I was like, and then she put in that order for the hearing, and I was like, what are we about to do right now? Are we about to, like, is the whole thing going to be, see, people like Lebrato and Scremin, they'll do right by him. He went on TV and said he was innocent. So we're going to boot the other two again, but never fear, because these other two are here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think this was it. Yeah, this is it, I think.
Do you think then that because people have been talking about this, that I call him Lebrato, but Lebrato's interview with Barbara was intentional, and the things that were said were very intentional, so that she could remove them, and then the public won't be as mad? You think it was all definitely like a setup?
I mostly feel like it was a request, I should say. Not necessarily that the stuff that he was saying was untrue, but it was like a request, like, you can go on and say whatever, but you also need to say this.
Okay.
They're still on the docket. still, for all intents and purposes, they still are listed as attorneys of record. I was sent
not as
the
of
order
today because she okayed them to be withdrawn. So anything going
but
forward, they could not be on there.
it's not stamped as filed, and it's from plumb back
Oh,
on
there you go. That's right.
February 29th. So is it recognized as, do you know what I mean?
That's a good point. I don't know. I wondered if she was just going to try to keep all 4 of them and then have them removed. I thought that there was a possibility since she wasn't signing off on it. But
I don't know. I think the Supreme Court's going to be pissed if she denies that continuance and they have to file another original action. I personally think that the Supreme Court did not think she was going to be this. Like when they decided not to remove her and not to do the 70 days, I think they thought that she would likely recuse herself, and the 70-day thing was, whatever, because they can file that on their own. The only place they had to intervene was get them back on. And I think not what they thought was going to happen.
Okay, let me go back. I'm going to back this up so that we can play it.
I can't hear it. I don't know why. Is there sound?
There should be sound, but sometimes when I flip it from a document to a video, the sound doesn't catch. I don't know. It's weird. So, okay, we're going to do it again anyway.
I was going to say, if I don't hear it this time, I'll just be quiet.
No, you're good because it was probably just.
Once again, Allen's.
Oh, I hear it now.
Okay.
Double murder suspect Richard Allen. For the first time in months, we're about to hear from one of his former attorneys. But first, a quick update on the latest. This week, we told you that the Carroll County prosecutor believes Allen's attorneys should be held in contempt of court. And once again, Allen's original attorneys who are back on the case want Judge Fran Gull off the case. All of this while the families of Liberty German and Abigail Williams wait for some form of justice in this case all these years later. Allen County Chief Public Defender Bill Lebrato, who replaced Allen's original attorneys before they were put back on the case, joins us live this morning. Mr. Lebrato, thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Yeah, I want to get into quickly. I know that you're no longer under the gag order, and that's why you can talk to us. But as I know, too, as Richard Allen's former attorney, there's a lot you still can't say. But can you share with us your feelings just on this chaos of the case? And it just at times feels like a circus. Have you ever seen anything like this in all your years?
No. This case has been unusual from the beginning. It has garnered so much media attention nationally. When I was
That's
still
not what we mean, Bill.
From other countries.
Wow.
So no, I've never seen so many twists and turns in a case such as these.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about how you would have tried the case in general terms. I know you can't get into a lot of it, but as far as the Odinism theory, that came up and so many people had never even heard of it. I never had. And I read that you originally had said that you thought it was hocus pocus, but now you've uncovered that it is the real thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's true. I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what it was when I first read about it. So the more involved my defense team got into the case, there are people that follow this Odin religion. There are people that were very brazen at the time of the murders on their Facebook accounts about being part of this Odinistic cult. Now, whether they're responsible, I don't know. I don't want to really get into what our legal defense theory would have been because I don't want to hinder the current attorney's defense, whatever that might be.
Can you tell me about Richard Allen now? I mean, we've seen him lose so much weight. We have seen, people basically want him tortured now, believing that he's guilty before being proven guilty. Tell me a little bit about your interactions with him and why do you believe that he's innocent?
Interactions with him, he's soft spoken, he's engaged in his defense, he's always very respectful to us in our meetings with him. I think he's not guilty or innocent because I believe the presumption of innocence is one of the most important legal theories that we have, and
That's a big backpedal.
that presumption of innocence carries with him through every stage of the trial until the jury has heard all the evidence, including closing arguments, and until they deliberate. That presumption of innocence follows him the whole way.
How do you reconcile being a defense?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Being a defense attorney. I know you get so much pushback on people that already believe that he, like you said, he's guilty already. How do you reconcile, like, if the family of Liberty or Abigail are watching this morning? How do you share that passion of where that comes from you, that you will defend someone at this point in your life?
Well, obviously my heart goes out to the families of those two little girls. I mean, this was a horrific, horrific crime. But I'm sure the families want to make sure that law enforcement not only arrests, but convicts the right person or people that were involved in this heinous crime.
Can Fran Gull, the judge, be fair, in your opinion?
Judge Gull knows no other way than to be fair. I've practiced in front of Judge Gull for 25 years. She does not play favorites. The Supreme Court did not pick her name out of a hat. They chose her for a specific reason. And in their ruling, they unanimously voted that Judge Gull stays on this case. Her ethical and moral standards are beyond approach.
Hey, before we leave, I want to ask you too, with all of the motions, I mean, it seems like every couple of days a new one is filed. Do you think that there's a possibility that you could end up back on the case? Have you even thought about that? I mean, I believe you're handing over the documents today to the first attorneys.
That wouldn't be a decision I would be in place to make.
Yeah.
Several motions have been filed by the reinstated defense team. I know motions have been filed by the elected prosecutor in Carroll County. If I was ever to be put back on the case, that's not a decision I would be in position to make.
I assume that you would want to take the case back if it was offered to you, or no?
If for some reason Judge Gull wanted to appoint our office again, since my defense team was on this case for 79 days, and we've got a pretty good grasp of, what we're after and what we need to do.
Allen County Chief Public Defender. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, interrupt you. There's nothing that's,
there's nothing I'm going to do to try to get back on the case.
No, I'm just thinking with
that was too many answers.
We just never know. It seems like every day there's something new. Mr. Lebrato, thank you very much for your insight. We appreciate you.
The thing I like most about riding the bus is just how peaceful it is. Oh,
I don't. I'm gonna have to listen to that again.
Why was he being so weird on that last question? He answered it like,
what is going on here?
Yep. And also, the presumption thing, while I agree with it, is also a huge walk back from what he said, which was that he 100% believed that Richard Allen had nothing to do with this. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with this.
And Barbara McDonald said, but you're a defense attorney, like you have to say that essentially. And he was like, no, and I don't normally say it. And now all of a sudden he's now changed it to this. So like, what is? And I
also,
get it. He has to go back and work for her. I mean, not work for her, but he has to work in courtrooms with her. I'm all about. There's the political side to the bullshit, and I get it. It's the same as like somebody asks you about your boss at work, and you're putting that out there. You're not going to just say whatever the hell you want to say. You're going to say what you're supposed to say. That was a huge walk back.
how many other attorneys, period, or public defenders in Allen County is she also commenting on like their beach pics with no shirt on and their children, and years back? I mean, commenting on literally everything that's public. So your opinion, your pictures with your dog, your picture with your kids, your pictures, like, the way he answered that last question about would you want to be back on, and he was kind of like panicking, like when he added like there's nothing I'm doing to like basically try to get back on. And it's like, yeah, but also you asked for permission to speak, you were given permission to do the interview with Barbara, I'm sure it was watched. Now you come back, first thing in the morning, and you're doing an interview and you totally walk back what you just said. Like, am I supposed to believe that you didn't get any feedback?
Well, I mean, the interview with Barbara McDonald was actually done like January 19th, I think. It was done right after the Supreme Court. She did it quickly right after that. Just didn't air until much later. This one is probably done today. So now he's had a couple of weeks of somebody being able to tell him, hey, or him going, holy shit, I shouldn't have said that. Look at the reaction it's gotten now that it's aired.
Yeah.
That was very interesting, though. I mean, that was a very... If you put those side by side, those two interviews, then I go, okay, Lebrato, whatever the hell your name is, what are you doing?
Well, and also my question would be, when Rozzi and Baldwin were not, part of, they weren't his attorneys of record, would this have been okay? Like, would they have still been under the gag order? Like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. And something that I realized today, because we were talking about this, I think that they would be prepared to, go toe to toe with McClelland. But something that was interesting, I was actually going back to get like old articles. Like, that was my intention. And actually some of them were gone. So I was downloading them as PDFs because I wasn't saving them in 2017.
Right.
And something that I noticed that was interesting was that McClelland wanted to complain about, they knew that we were going to get a gag order, and they did their press release or whatever anyway, right? Well,
right.
The 22nd of November is when he asked for the gag order.
Mm-hmm.
The 23rd of November, he released a press release to the news saying clearly extrajudicial statements. And I can pull those up if you want.
Pull it up. Yeah. Grab it.
Let me get
Let's look at it. Because
But
that's
the point,
all. If he's actually out there making statements to the press after he requested it, then it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. November 23rd, 2022. Actually, I'll send it to you too. It's kind of blurry. Let me send it to you so you can pull it up, and then I'll read it.
Okay. Are we really supposed to believe that Gull approved his interviews while he is still under the gag order? The motion to withdraw wasn't granted until today. That's
Well,
actually
it wasn't granted till the 29th. So, like, even if you go by that order before it showed up on the docket, it's not dated until the 29th. If whatever date he did, let's say he did that on the 19th. Like, did you even put in a motion to withdraw yet? So how did she tell you that you were not under the gag order? So do you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm just shaking my head. Honestly,
So
that's what I'm doing.
I just sent you that. And
Okay.
so the 22nd of November, Nick asks for the gag order. His asshole hairs are twisted up because the defense said that they didn't need a gag order. They weren't going to say anything. But yet the following day, Nick McClelland turns around on the 23rd and issues a press release through the Indiana State Police and says, the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office appreciates the judge hearing our arguments yesterday morning and looks forward to her ruling. As I stated in court yesterday, we strongly believe the evidence shows Richard Allen was involved in the murder of Libby and Abby. Because the investigation is ongoing and given the intense public interest in this case, we think it would be best if the documents remain sealed. Regardless of the ruling, we believe we have a very solid case against Mr. Allen and look forward to making our argument at trial.
On November 23rd.
Yeah, the day after he asked for a gag order. And then they went in again on the 20. I don't want to lie to you. He went in again on the that was the 22nd. Oh, he didn't do it again. So that was the only one that he put there. Then he was basically then the change of venue went, then the order regarding public access to the record, and then the redacted probable cause affidavit was released on November 29th. And then December 1st, 2 days later, is when the defense put out their press release. And then, yeah.
So we appreciate the judge hearing our arguments. We strongly believe the evidence shows Richard Allen was involved in the murder of Libby and Abby. Involved in the murder of Libby and Abby. Involved. That's an interesting choice of words. Because the investigation is ongoing and given the intense public interest in the case, we think it would be the best if the documents remain sealed. Regardless of the ruling, we believe we have a very solid case. And so here the defense comes and says, we don't believe you have a very solid case, and this is why. And they violate a gag order that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And also, well, whatever. If he really wants to go there, then he's going to go there. McClellan will, but I think that it will backfire. I think it will backfire. I think that, I think it will backfire. I think he needs to remember, like, I guess who he is and who they are and how things have gone and behaviors, and also what the defense team knows of the law enforcement underneath him. And I think that if he forgets that, you know, he can file for these contemptuous whatevers, but if he's really wanting to, I mean, if there's going to be sunlight, then bring all the sunlight. And I think they will. And I think it'll be regretful.
Okay, so here's the thing. If McClellan files this contempt, they go and they do this hearing for contempt. One of the reasons that this is totally just my speculation on the whole thing, so take it for what you want. Mm-hmm. She orders the hearing very quickly so that she can rule on it. So then she can order a disqualification of the attorneys based on the proven gross negligence that she's already signed off on.
Yeah, but the problem with that is like he said, if she does and she goes forward with that, like, it's just, I don't understand her being willing to allow this to go in front of the Supreme Court again after they've already do you know how fucking embarrassing that is? Do you know how embarrassing in the middle? First of all, we're not talking after everything's all said and done, which I will remind you, she has had a case overturned because apparently she thinks she can spot ineffective counsel, but it got overturned for ineffective counsel because she let this attorney say nothing at all for their defendant. Nothing.
But here you have, now they're overzealous and she calls them grossly incompetent.
But the Supreme Court was like, this man said nothing. How did she not, like, he never objected. He never said nothing. He spoke no words. Even like, so like they're in sentencing and he's offering nothing. So she didn't find that ineffective. But she finds this ineffective. And at least that was after a case was already done, because like 9 times out of 10, like appeals don't happen. Like they happen, they get filed all the time, but like stuff
Right,
doesn't
they don't
get
get
reversed
accepted.
all the time. So it's like, okay, well, good luck. This bitch had something overturned in the middle of the case. It's embarrassing. This is this should be highly embarrassing for her.
She's going to this is my problem with, okay, so I want to backtrack just a second, because I know that there's going to be the statements of, well, you know, they did send the stuff to Brandon Woodhouse, and they did have this guy, you know, that came into Baldwin's office and took photos because they didn't secure it. So I see that side of it. And so what my whole point of this is, even if that's true, which, I mean, if you want to put that into the true, like into it's gross negligence, Judge Gull wouldn't have known anything about it until they were in a hearing. I shouldn't say anything about it, but she wouldn't know the legalities behind it until they actually had the hearing. But she ruled on removing them, or forced withdrawal, which, I mean, people still argue that they withdrew, but I mean, the Supreme Court differs. You know, they have a different opinion and says, no, that was not the way to do it. So she chooses to do it that way, gets rid of them. They come back. So she's not going to take that lightly. So now Nick files this contempt. She's going to rule and say that they are in criminal contempt. Then she's going to say, here is, you know, you guys were grossly negligent. It's now been proven in the court, and now you're being removed again. And we're back to getting other attorneys to come in.
Well,
now, the process of that's how I foresee this happening. But the process of this, so even for the people, if you go back to the beginning of what I just said, that he sent this stuff to Baldwin, or he sent this stuff to Woodhouse, and he has his buddy Mitch Westerman in an unsecured location. Even with those two things, if you as a person think that those are really, really bad and that they committed gross negligence, the process I talked about after that is still not the right way to go about it. Everything else that's happened is still wrong. So you can think they're wrong, but then you can't go back and say that everything she's doing is right just because you think what they did was wrong. There can be two people wrong here.
Well, and the problem now is that she has already made decisions and called them certain things that make her not impartial to be able to determine if they do need to be removed. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. She's not impartial. She cannot reside over any, I don't know why I keep saying reside. She doesn't live there, but I don't know, maybe she does. But you know what I'm saying. She now no longer has the view
of fair and impartial at this point.
Right. The view of fair and impartial to be able to make any decisions over what happens to Baldwin or Rozzi. That's it. I mean, that's where I stand with it. So even if you go back and say that was really, really bad, and I know I have a pompous, I keep saying it wrong and I catch myself.
Preside.
I know.
Lebrato said something too at the end. What did he say? He said a wrong word, and I was going to say that was wrong also.
Hold on, let me see.
It was like, what was the word? It was one of the very last things his dumbass said. But
she publicly said they were lying, which is saying that Ari's defense isn't believable, which a judge shouldn't do. Right.
Yeah.
And then talk about thinking a jury pool.
She let Nick say it too in court. I don't know, man. But what's interesting is now with what Rozzi fired back, he's like, you know what? That's fine. Like, we could do this hearing, but you need to give me time to get a lawyer and do discovery. And you know what that means?
We're going to get all your communications, and we're going to see what the hell you guys have been talking about. Just like you are doing on a case that you don't actually preside over. or you don't actually not preside over, but that you're not even the prosecutor on the case.
He's not a prosecutor on the case. So we're talking, I want to know, communications, interviews between, people. I want all the affidavits that were written and interviews that were recorded and this and that. And beyond that, if you think that that he's not ready with a list of everything that he would be requesting, you're crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna play this.
Talk to us, but as I know too, is
Her ethical and moral standards are beyond approach.
hey,
There it is. There it is.
Too, with all of the motions, I mean,
beyond reproach, and he says approach.
Reproach, you ass.
Well, that's fine. I'm not gonna get mad at him for that because I keep messing up the other damn word.
Because you say she reside.
I don't know. I feel like she freaking lives there now. That's just it. She lives there, and she's not gonna leave until she is able to get rid of Baldwin and Rozzi. That's it.
She's like, if the last thing I do as a judge, like, I'm not leaving until they're leaving. I'm not leaving.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, I'll step down now.
Yeah.
She gets rid of them again.
Picture now the clip from Wolf of Wall Street and Leonardo DiCaprio. That's going to be Gull. But that's also me. That's me, like, with their emails. The poor clerk, man. If I ever do go to Indiana, it'll be to apologize to her personally.
This should just be so simple. I'm just saying, like, it should be such a simple process of, like the Supreme Court Justice Rush was saying, like, let's just get it back on track. Let's get it back on track. And now we're just completely.
Now they want to have criminal proceedings. That's not getting it back on track.
No, because she's not going to let it go. So I would be very curious. I would be very curious when they try to request discovery. What are the communications between McClelland and Gull or Gull's office that should not be happening?
Mm-hmm.
You're forgetting that Gull makes up her own laws. No hearing, straight to jail, loser. Yeah, she does what she wants.
Do you think I should send it to Chief Justice Rush? Do you think I should forward? I mean, she may never say anything. But if I can get a contact for her, you think I should send her all this stuff? All the emails and whatnot?
Do you think that she's still paying attention? I mean, let's be real. Because I mean, she seemed pretty damn invested in, like, she had the stuff that came out that day before the hearing.
I honestly do. I think that she is. I do. I think once they reinstated them, I think she was like, now I'm going to watch. And then what was the very first thing that happened? She denied every single motion they had. That would have also caught my attention as the Chief Justice. There's no way she's not watching.
I mean, it's not like she obviously is busy and she has other shit on her plate, but I'm just saying, like, I would think that she would be like, okay, you over there in the office, you're going to send me updates on what's happening with this.
Think about this. They don't know that the Sleuthie Goose is not the one that is doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, corrected, because I went on and I started CCing the judge and McClelland. So it's like, at that point, people track their emails also. So, like, it's really difficult to say that you didn't see or didn't know or didn't, if, like, you're opening emails and forwarding them to others. And then correcting the docket. So they don't know who's who requesting this stuff. You know what I mean? Like you said, who am I for them to have sent me all those documents today?
They're just like, we don't want her emailing us anymore. Just get it out. Just do it.
Yeah. And I honestly don't think that and I could be totally wrong. She could cuss me every day, but I really don't think that the clerk, like, she really is a nice lady. And from what I've seen, you know, she gets thrown under the bus. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, oh, you know, I'm going to tell her to do things that I know she's not allowed to do. And I'm going to blame stuff on her because what's she going to do? What's she going to do? And why are these people always getting ready for an election, for fuck's sake? Literally.
There's constantly an election.
Constantly.
Who's taking a bath, little gambler? He wants to know. I'm not, so I'll just leave it at that. Hi, Inspector Gadget.
I was, but now I'm making a salad, which I know is going to give me heartburn. Last night, the girls were like, we want to talk. So like, let's do a group message. Well, they were like going into different channels in the Discord to have like a group call, and nobody could find them, and I couldn't find them. And I'm like, you people, I'm like,
I hate Discord. I freaking hate Discord.
I'm like, there's way too many channels. Like, what is happening? Like, where are you guys? And they're like tagging me, and I'm like, it says no access. Like, but I partially own the server. Like, how do I not have access? Where am I going? And I was like, listen, I already have heartburn. I tried to take some Tums. They expired in 2018. Like, I'm really not doing well. So somebody needs to figure out how to get me on the phone so we can talk. And I can
just call me. Just call me. Stop trying to make me go to some random place to pick up a call that I don't even know where the hell to go. I hate Discord. I screw it up all the time. I try, but I mess up.
She's like, you're in here. I'm like, I am not. I haven't moved. I hear no one. Like, I'm not like dumb when it comes to Discord, but like, I was like, who has this time? My heartburn was bad. I'm like, I don't need medicine. And the one time I need medicine, that goes to tell you when's the last time I put Tums in my belly. And I was like, what'll happen if I just take... So then I found some Prilosec, which was also expired, but less expired. It expired in 2020, so I took that. Now I'm going to have to pre-medicate for the salad. My kid fell asleep. He's going to Monster Jam tomorrow.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, we had to get him like earplugs, because the one thing that I heard was that it's super loud.
So somebody's asking why nobody's hearing from Doug Carter. Well, I think it's just because he's under a gag order. I think that nobody's talking publicly because they're under this gag order. And now you have Lebrato, who's no longer under a gag order, potentially under a gag order. Nobody even understands that. And he's out here doing all the interviews.
Yeah.
Southern Sweet Tea. The law is the rules. Even Gull has to comply. But how are we where we're at now? I've never seen anything like this in any case I've ever followed. I've never seen anything this crazy. Like, I don't even know. Somebody earlier, and I think it was Chelsea, said, like, I don't know if I just don't trust anybody in here in this case to do anything that they're supposed to do at this point.
So she's super sweet, Southern Sweet Tea. She's super sweet, but
She's a sweetheart.
But we agree that even Gull has to comply. But what do you do when Gull's not complying and no one's like at this point? So like Tara stepped in, like she's done more than like, what do you do when no one's doing anything? That's what's scary. Is like, we're just regular people. What are we supposed to do to help? Who's going to listen?
That's kind of where we're stuck at.
Yeah, that's really scary.
We just have to keep, I think they're going to have to just go, they're going to go back and forth. So if this continues and whatnot, they're either going to file an interlocutory appeals, or she just keeps denying everything without hearings. And then they're going to end up having to go back to the Supreme Court if she just tries to remove them again.
What a waste of time.
I agree, and the biggest reason I agree is because of the damn Supreme Court opinion. If the Supreme Court opinion comes out and says, this is all rubbish, like, we don't care. He chose to have these guys as attorneys. He knows what happened. He knows that the email was sent to Woodhouse. He knows that stuff was given to Mitch Westerman, who sent it out to the public. Richard Allen knows that and still chooses to have them as his attorneys. That's it. We already made the decision. None of this stuff matters then. It's like we're trying to distract from being able to work on the actual case. We have that Baldwin and Rozzi have to continue to file motions to protect their position as Richard Allen's attorneys, instead of actually working on getting the rest of the depositions done, being able to file the 70-day and get to court, because now you can't file the 70-day. It's constant. It's over and over and over again. The motion for her to DQ herself or recuse herself would have been very simple. I mean, if people are out here listening, because I know there's people listening and not typing, and if anybody else, don't attack them. They do actually comment to my question. I want to know, how does anybody, whether you think Richard Allen is innocent, guilty, part of something bigger, how in the world is this not, are you not perceiving Judge Gull as being biased at this point? That's what I want to know. So I know that there's people that listen that don't always comment because, you know, they may be on the, you know, the quote unquote other side, even though I really don't feel like I fall onto any side except for protecting our constitutional rights. And I cannot imagine if this was me sitting in this courtroom with somebody like a Judge Gull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm genuinely curious. Like, I just don't, like, let's pretend like we're not even talking about, like I said, Gull or Richard Allen or Rozzi and Baldwin. Like you think as just like an American, like this is okay, that like a judicial system is supposed to work like this.
That's where I'm at. Like, do people who think that, because I know that there are people who are adamant that what Baldwin and Rozzi did was absolutely grossly negligent and incompetent. I know there are people who are adamant about that, and that's fine. I that could be the opinion. So the process we're at now, like, do those same people think that this part's okay? That she's really not biased? That's what I want to know. Like, do people really think that she's not biased?
I'm just watching the chat.
There would be more outrage if it was an NFL game. Because I get it. Like, hi, Unsolved Crimes. Good to see you. Hi, Jen P. Other channels criminally think so. It's just, I just don't get, like I said, I maybe it's me and how my brain works, but they're separate situations. Like, there's this situation. This, just because if you think Baldwin and Rozzi did bad doesn't automatically make Gull good. That's where I'm at with it. Like, there's just, why can't it be that you think that they did bad, but you can see that she doesn't really give a shit about doing it the right way?
Travis said it depends on what you're using as evidence of bias. So I guess my response would be, if there's evidence of bias, whatever you're choosing that to be, like, are you acknowledging that there's any evidence of bias? If so, doesn't that mean she has to go?
My evidence of bias would be the fact that she called them liars, tried to have them removed without a hearing, called them incompetent, grossly negligent, and essentially bad attorneys. And that she in open court tells Richard Allen, I'm sorry, sir. I know you want them to be your attorneys, but I just can't let that happen. I just can't. Like, that's what I'm using. Whether they were right or wrong. She doesn't want them there.
You know how we were saying that it's basically like she knows the right thing and then she does the opposite? Remember how we were saying that? Well, someone brought it up the other day, and I'm really, it's sticking in the back of my mind. And I even asked Bob, but he ignored me. But like, I think maybe he's not ready, because then it's really bad. But I was like, is it possible that she's trying to get removed versus remove herself? Like, maybe she can't.
Why?
Maybe she can't remove herself. But if she got removed, then it would be like, well, you know, I tried, and I tried to stay, but they removed me, and there's nothing I could do. I don't want to go into why. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Like, I started to, like, when they said that, I was like, I don't know, man. And then more stuff happened, and I was like, dude, what? Like, it's almost like doing the exact opposite of the right thing, because you're hoping that at some point somebody's going to step in. I'm not making excuses for her either. I'm just saying I can't comprehend the behavior unless it was forced in some way. I just don't understand.
Thank you to everybody who's popping in that says, like, I'm just a listener, but yeah, definitely bias, and no fair trial can go forward. I mean, at least there's no perception of a fair trial ever, whether you think he's guilty or not. What a clusterfuck. And Freckled Joy, I believe Rick Allen is guilty, but I also think that there's shenanigans going on with the court.
Yeah, one of my really, really good friends I talk to almost every day. Like, she's like, I don't know if he did it or not. I'm inclined to believe that he did, but I mean, they're shitting all over his constitutional rights. Like, this is just not right, period. And that's the way you should be thinking. You know, it's not a matter of guilt or innocence. You should be concerned about how they're treating another human being, period.
So you think that she was like intentionally put on this case? Like they're like, you are the one who has to be on this case. And she's like, oh, hell no. I don't want to be on this case. Okay.
No, I think she got on and was like, okay, you know, like, yeah. And she was going to do her job. But then I put it this way. I would not be surprised if at some point, maybe 10 years from now, it came out that at some point along the way, she was put in a position where she was having to do something that she didn't want to do. And then eventually she broke and she was like, I'm just going to act a fucking fool. And hopefully someone removes me. Because if I leave, I will break my obligation to whatever it is. I know
like to somebody who said that she needs to stay on this case.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll give you, if she in fact does recuse herself from Baldwin's other murder case, then I'm really going to be all of my hair is going to be standing up if she does.
Because she's like, okay, I'll recuse myself here, but I won't recuse myself over there because I have to stay. I could see that.
And we're talking about like arrogance and like that's how we're seeing her now. But if you look at like, yeah, I found that one where she, didn't do anything. Like that person, that lawyer said nothing and she didn't like remove them as being ineffective counsel and they got it overturned. But I just don't see like an established pattern of her being this way all the time. So I'm struggling to understand where it came from. Yeah, self-sabotage. Yeah. Like I'm just struggling to like, I feel like if she had been a shit box this whole time, there would be evidence of that in terms of these same exact behaviors. And it could be that they've been hidden from the dockets, right? Like that could be a thing. That could be a thing. Maybe I can't find it because I've been looking, trust me. Maybe I can't find it because it's hidden from the docket. She strikes stuff and whatever else. That's another reason why there needs to be cameras. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Well, see, so Lambert Co. is saying, how can a mistaken email and a victim of a theft be considered intentional leaking? But
here, can you take over for just a second? I got to go help a tiny human real quick.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
The story that McClelland is putting out in this contemptuous whatever filing tells a different story than what is in the affidavit to arrest Mitch Westerman and the affidavit that he signed. I get that, Natasha. Like, Natasha, if I can, I don't even know if I could stop this. I know I can't highlight stuff, but she said, I think her leaving the case in her eyes means she's admitting she's wrong and biased. Yeah, but dude, going to the Supreme Court is so much more embarrassing. Like you recuse and be like, oh, the bloodbath. It's a bloodbath, whatever. And I'm sick. That was a perfect out, dude. I'm sick. I can't deal with this. I'm sick. So I'm recusing. Has nothing to do with anything else but that. And people are going to talk, but who cares? But if you do get thrown off by the Supreme Court, like that is so embarrassing. I can't imagine. I would just be like, I'm dying of cancer. That's what I'd say. I got cancer. I can't do this. And then a couple months down the road, be like, I'm in remission. I'm cured. I'd rather do that. It'd be less embarrassing. BH, I am doing laundry. You can hear that all the way on the other side of the house. Lord, if I had my headphones in, you wouldn't be able to hear me, let alone that. Oh, hey, Bobbert. You should come up and talk to us. I'm holding it down while she's with her little baby. So I can't send you an invite or anything. Yeah, Chelsea, I agree. She has so many reasons to recuse herself with the tiny bit of dignity she has. I agree. I just feel like it would be less embarrassing than going back to the Supreme Court. It's just so embarrassing, man, to have had her ruling overturned and then put back on the case. That was embarrassing. I wouldn't want to do it again. Yeah, I don't really know the purpose of having made the announcement a month later that she was not feeling well. If the intention wasn't to use that to recuse, I don't know what the point was, unless we were supposed to just feel bad, I guess. I feel bad for Richard Allen that weighs 120 fucking pounds. That's what I feel bad. When they said 120 pounds, oh, and I wanted to say this. So I had always wondered if they were trying to make him look like an old man or whatever. Like, if you notice when he goes to the hearings, and especially the clip that we were watching before, where he's like walking and he has on the orange pants, and then they put like a jacket over him and they're walking him down the steps. Like, I always thought, I wonder, something about it was weird to me. But then after that comment about him being 122 pounds down from like 206 when he was arrested, like 122 pounds is outrageous. My almost 6-year-old is like 60 some odd. He's half of that. And he's 6.
And my 13-year-old daughter is 110 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was thinking, like, when I watched that clip again, I was like, oh my God, I bet you they're trying to hide the fact that he's bones.
That's why they throw that jacket on over all the chains.
And the heavy clothes,
they want people to see the chains.
Clothes. Yeah, and and the big clothes. Like, I was watching him walk down the steps. If you look at like his clothes, his pants, the orange pants, and you watch him walking down the steps, it looks like his bone, like he looks like he's made of bones. And I think putting on the bigger clothes and the jacket, and like, I think all that's made to make it look like, and they hold him up essentially. They carry him through the courthouse. He doesn't even walk on his own. And I feel like it's because they're trying to hide his like condition.
And I know that people who are on the side of him being the right guy, like that he is the guilty party, and he's just not convicted yet, don't necessarily care about that as much, because they're like, he's guilty. But I'm just like, if you ever just think for a second that he might not be, and that he is technically legally innocent right now, and that's what's happening, that's what makes it crazy to me.
Yeah.
They do it to make him feel powerless. That's a great point.
And 80 pounds, like, dude, that's 80 pounds. He's lost half of his body weight.
Almost. They said that he was gaining some, though. No, wasn't that one of the other comments was that he was down to like 120, but he was putting some weight back on.
He was now at like 130 or whatever. But here's my thing: is you had him in a situation where they were being called out for their behavior, and they were being called out on a massive scale. Like, we are watching. We've been collecting information every time we've been there. We have been watching you people, and so. But then when they were gone, when they left. Well, then he's getting booted off without his attorneys knowing anything about it and getting sent down to Wabash. And it's like, who's looking now? Like, was he gaining weight and looking better at the last court appearance on the 31st because they knew that people were hyper aware of how he was being treated? And now he's losing weight again.
Do you think that this will go to the U.S. Superior Court for violating his rights? You mean like the U.S. Supreme Court? I mean, it would go back to the Indiana Supreme Court first.
Bob is here.
Bob is?
Yeah, he's not like in here. Like, he's not here. He's in the chat. He was in the chat. He came up like as soon as you left, and I was like, you should come up. And then I was like, oh, I can't invite you or anything. I'm
I
just
sent him a link.
okay.
I know he was live for like 9 hours today though, so I don't know how much more YouTube he really wants in his life right now. His weight loss is normal for a lot of inmates, which I do also like. So I'll go back to when they very first arrested him and they put out the PCA, and I was like, it's kind of a weak PCA, but they're still working on getting all the evidence, so on and so forth. And I was like, at least they arrested him, and we're gonna go through the process now. I was totally on board with like, this is the guy. They've got the evidence, or they're gonna work on getting the rest of the evidence, like as they investigate, so on and so forth. I'm just like.
So, do you
I can
follow?
see that, like, people think that. Like, I can see that people think like that he was guilty. Guilty people. He's starving himself. He's, because he actually feels bad, or he feels bad that he's in prison, and I don't know.
Look at Crumley. She didn't lose a bunch of weight.
She gained.
Uh-huh.
She like doubled. Okay, hold on. I gotta pull up my email real quick.
Do you follow Maurer habeas litigation? I think Maurer is the right name.
No.
So it's IU habeas. I guess I don't know if he's like a professor, but
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's actually quite nice. He's a good follow on Twitter. He's been talking about this stuff, and his opinion is actually pretty interesting. Like, he feels as though, I'm trying to find like exact ones, but he was the one that was saying essentially that this had to have been indirect criminal contempt that he was trying to say, like, even though he didn't say it, and this was before Rozzie's filing came out, asking for the continuance, but he was like, McClellan has to be wanting criminal contempt because like civil contempt is not a thing in this situation. And he said, basically his opinion is that McClellan should be, I'm trying to find the exact one, but basically that McClellan should be disqualified at this point for having brought this. He said
for having even brought from the contempt, even brought the contempt in front of the court based on they were already at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that these are Richard Allen's attorneys. That's why I'm like, I don't know how they're doing all these things without knowing the opinion from the Supreme Court. Because if the Supreme Court says, yeah, no, that's all done, this is it, we're over it.
He said, there can be no indirect civil contempt in this situation. It's indirect criminal contempt or nothing. There is no available sanction for civil contempt. At this point, any sanction would be punitive. And McClellan filed then in the wrong place. He had to file a separate criminal case. And because he can only be seeking finding of indirect criminal contempt, that there has to be a special prosecutor. But because he has attempted to criminally charge Andy Baldwin and Brad Rozzi, albeit in the wrong place, he should be disqualified from Rick Allen's case. So what he's saying is because even though he filed it in the wrong place, so he should have started a totally separate criminal case to make that filing versus filing it under Rick Allen's murder case. Even though it was filed in the wrong place, McClellan essentially tried to bring charges on Baldwin and Rozzi. And because he did so, he should no longer be the prosecutor on the case that they are representing their client in. Like, essentially, he's conflicted now, too. And he said that if they did it the right way, which I don't know what this means because I'm not a lawyer, but he said that if they were careful about it and they did it the right way, that there was a possibility that you could turn this February 12th contempt hearing into a disqualification hearing. But in my opinion, it's not going to do any good doing that in front of Gull.
I don't think that's where I'm at. And that is the problem. That's why she shouldn't be there. I'm just checking chat. 5'4", 120 is healthy weight for a petite woman. Not for a man. I'm waiting for evidence that will never come. Rebecca says, but in the chambers, Rozzi says, I wouldn't lie to you about anything, when she said she didn't think he'd lie about Alan not being notified. That was when Alan said that he did want him as his attorney still.
Yeah. And then they tried to make the argument and oral arguments that they didn't actually hear it from Rick Allen's mouth. And it's like, well, your client didn't let him come in her chamber. She didn't want to hear him. And also, we have a letter. What do you mean?
$120 is a healthy weight for a man, too. You can tell he's running multiple. Okay, I don't know what that's about. I'm not going to get involved in that. Maybe Slick Nick is trying to get DQ'd so the more professional helper loyal will do it instead. Well, from the get-go of this, Nick McClellan doesn't have the experience, and you can like him, not like him, that's irrelevant. He doesn't have the experience to do something, to do this type of murder case and this high profile of a murder case, and he needed a special prosecutor from the beginning, and he wouldn't get one. Instead, he asked for more money to have Shane come in and whatever else. He always needed one, and I think that finally he realized, holy crap, I do need one, and now it was too late because he didn't get him until October when the other ones were DQ'd.
On the 19th.
On the 19th. Yeah. He happens to bring him when he's like, I'm also bringing all of my witnesses to show how bad these guys are.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just don't see how he could even go forward as the prosecutor at this point, just simply based on the fact that he's literally read unknown amounts of defense strategy. I think he was offended too, because he quite literally put in there that he saw Baldwin and Westerman talking about him and the court. How is that okay? And he now knows defense strategy, which means he also knows, whoever it was that was also about to get mentioned as Odinist or Odin adjacent, whatever that was meaning. And I'm also still needing to know how this stuff is coming out. And those two, I don't know if we're allowed to say the name or if this is going to get struck. I don't know how the whole thing works, but the two I'm talking about was saying all of these things too. When after the 19th, they were still doing podcasts saying, everybody's acting like this is just about, the crime scene photos. It's not. They were sharing defense strategy. We were reading so those people know defense strategy now too, because of whatever screenshots were shared.
Correct.
And that's
absolutely correct.
Yeah. So and that's, so they know, the prosecutor knows, Holman knows, and that includes, so part of the defense strategy was the investigation into Holman too. He was deposed. So then they also know about the defense's investigation into Liggett and his lies. So now the prosecution knows all of that too. You see what I mean? I just don't see how they can continue on like this after something so.
This is what we said when the whole thing even happened with the leak, and it was the same exact investigators investigating the people behind the leak, as well as as well as Richard Allen's case, and the ones that were being accused of lying. I mean, how does that? The conflict is just abundant. It's just, there's so much conflict having any of these people involved with both cases. And then how McClellan is commenting in that motion for the contempt that he knows that they were candid, that Baldwin and Mitch Westerman were candidly talking about the state and the court. What does that have to do with anything? So why in the world would he know that? Because that doesn't have anything to do with the leak. So now they're not just giving him information that quote unquote has to do with the leak. They're giving McClellan information about the private conversations that Baldwin is having with his friends about them. Right? So even for the people who are like, oh yeah, well, he totally has a right to see it because he's the one that's in charge of this whole thing. Da, 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 da. Well, So I don't get that. It's mind-blowing to me. But I have to talk to Todd here for just a second. For the absurd Odinist framed RA theory, they would have needed to know RA was going to be on the trail and the bridge at the exact same time as the victims and need a body double dressed exactly like him. I just want you to understand that that makes no sense. I don't think that there's anybody, and not that I have heard, that thinks the Odinist framed Richard Allen. I don't think that's really where where that's coming from.
Keep going.
The whole thing is that Richard Allen said he was there earlier in the day, and this is the theory, not necessarily mine, but the theory that keep on is out there, is Richard Allen is essentially a patsy because he was already there. Not
Police
that the Odinist
patsy.
framed Richard Allen.
Liget's patsy.
Oh, yes, that he's a patsy. Not that the Odinists were like, ooh, that guy over there, that Richard Allen guy, let's frame him for these murders. Nobody did that. No, and I don't think anybody thinks that. So I just want to put that. I know you've commented that a couple times in the chat, so I just want to make sure that you understand that nobody has that theory. So coming in with saying that that's the theory really doesn't make a lot of sense. Nobody thinks that Richard Allen was framed by the Odinists. Now, let's talk about this theory for a second. The theory that Richard Allen, just because if it is Odinism and Odinism is tied to the crime, doesn't mean that Richard Allen is not involved. Now, I'm going to put this out there to you guys. If Richard Allen is involved in Odinism, and it's just not written on anything that anybody on the prosecutor's side or the defense side has been able to find the connection, let's just say he is tied to it. We're going to go with your theory that he is tied to Odinism, and that means that it doesn't mean he's not, that he's innocent. Why in the world would the narrative be that Richard Allen is in prison covering for his Odinist buddies who are also part of this crime, and yet the Odinist guards are the ones picking on him because he won't confess about the other Odinist crimes?
Well, and also I think that if there was any evidence to be able to show that he is Odinist, then I don't think it would be such a priority to kind of hide the Odinist stuff. Like the Purdue professor and all that stuff. Like you wouldn't care if that was the way that you were going and he was an Odinist, then you could say, yeah, of course there was, these stick formations on the ground because he practices this Od. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the fact that you're not wanting to acknowledge it in that way would lead me to suggest that it would be exculpatory for him. So you don't want that coming in, because he has no connection.
People on both sides don't want to know, but RA and BH almost certainly know each other.
I want to know, Fiend, but I need the receipts, boy.
Yeah. I would love to know that connection. I mean, the problem with trying to find any quote-unquote connections, in my opinion, with this case is you find these two people have a connection, and then it's like, does that connection actually mean anything, or is that just because they are all in around this town of 3,000 people, and the next town over is like 1,000 people, and they all just know each other because they've lived there their whole lives, essentially? You know what I mean? Like, so they are all connected, because I can guarantee you I can probably connect every single person in Delphi through social media apps, every one of them. Now, does that mean they're all connected to like this grand conspiracy? He doesn't live in Delphi, no, but he came to Delphi a lot. And obviously they were connected to Delphi because he was friends with Patrick Westfall, who lived in Delphi. He also had other friends in Delphi. There's been I haven't been able to back this up, but one of the houses that he was staying at was supposedly in Delphi. And then you have Logan, who's dating Abby, who's from Delphi. So we know that that's what I'm saying. Like, literally, we could probably connect. There's like 3,000 people here. Add the other part, and you got what, 5,000, 6,000? There's still not a lot of people. I can connect this person to that person pretty easily. 6 degrees of separation, especially in that tiny ass town.
I'm thinking, has Patrick Westphal disappeared since his 2 interviews? Like, has he been in chats or anything?
I don't think I've seen him in any chats. I know he was hanging out in Sleuth chats during those interview times, but I don't know if he ever stuck around or not. I don't know if he's like kept communication with Sleuth Intuition or anything like that. I've never asked him.
You know, I wanted to ask questions, but all I could think was, boy, why are you here? Don't talk to these people. Don't talk to these people. This interview has already been transcribed, sir. Like, as it's happening, like,
It's already done.
Yeah.
Many people get recruited at local bars. Well, but that's my whole thing is, so if he's there and he's tied to the Odinism stuff, why would the guards be tormenting him versus protecting him? Like, why wouldn't that be the whole thing? Like Sleuthie is saying, like, if you found ties to him in Odinism, you would tie it all together and you would use it. If you were the prosecution, you would be using Odinism to tie him to the crime. But because you want him to be the person, you can't tie him to Odinism. Therefore, Odinism doesn't exist.
Because if you can't tie him to Odinism and you bring Odinism in as I don't want to use the word, but I will, a tentacle to this crime, then that ends up being exculpatory for him. So, like, if the Purdue professor and the FBI and they all come in and they say, this definitely looks like a ritualistic thing from this and this and this, and you can't tie Richard Allen to having any of that information, it is exculpatory. So you're going to want to avoid it at all costs.
Brandon Woodhouse already named Nick McClellan as being involved. Yeah, I don't know. Lots of people have been named, and I still don't think they're involved.
Brandon Woodhouse is also he is an Odinist or whatever.
Correct, which is why I think that Shane Evans is the Odin adjacent guy that was referred to, because they had the
super sus, and they got rid of him. He was supposed to. Do you remember when he decided he didn't want to be a mayor anymore and he wanted to be a prosecutor?
Yes.
Well, he said that the reason for that decision was so he could prosecute this case. Well, where's he at, though? Is it because all this stuff came out and then all of a sudden, October 19th, here's this other prosecutor and Shane's not going to be there now? Was he because he was about to be mentioned?
Well, that's also a possibility, but I think that the whole thing was that they wanted a Shane Evans to go and run everything else take care of all the other cases that McClellan wasn't going to be able to.
I don't care what anybody says. That was suspicious AF. When I saw that he all of a sudden stopped being the mayor because he wanted to be a prosecutor to prosecute this case, all I could think of, quite literally, was Doug Carter in my ear saying, "You want to know what we know."
As a new person to all of this, I just want to say that the bridge guy photo was plastered everywhere in Delphi, right? People would recognize that person by the closed gate, etc. Then boom, RA. I think that was one of the things that Lebrato was saying too, is nobody thought it was him. And we know, here's the thing is, we know based on their own Facebook posts that the quote unquote witnesses in this case also frequented the CVS.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that family members were around Richard and Kathy Allen. We know that Becky's sister was around Kathy Allen and Richard Allen at the bar. We know that David Erskine's wife at the time worked at the same bar. We know that, there's so many people, because once again, you can find all these ties, but does it actually tie to anything? Who knows? What I'm saying is there's so many people who watched this video and watched him and saw him, interacted with him, including Tobe Lesenby, who says in his interview he went to the CVS and actually got help from Richard Allen, and he didn't know. Nobody thought it was him. Nobody.
Which one of those fools was like, it was the interview. So you can find that on the tab, on the sheriff questions tab in the timeline thing. where they asked him like all those questions. Maybe it was Lisenby. And he was like, I know that voice. They said, like, he knew, you know, the voice. Do you know if it's because of somebody you arrested or whatever? He's like, I don't know. I just can't, It's like, okay, so you too, also an investigator who should be a little more, like, more information. Are you telling me you interacted with him too? And you didn't think it was him? You're going to tell me all that time Dan Doolin didn't know it was him? And I'm here to tell you Dan Doolin is the one that interviewed him. I don't know why there's even still a question about that. Because in their press release, they say it was Doolin. It's always only been Doolin.
Well, it's ironic though, because if it's not Doolin, that means that, and that where that narrative comes from very pro Richard Allen guilty people. But yet, if it's not Doolin, they're essentially saying that Nick McClelland and Tony Liggett are liars.
Yeah. And
so
I don't know.
I would put that out there. Like, that's like, come on.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know, but I clipped like parts of Lebrato's thing with Barbara all together. I made a short of it just because I thought he made really good points, and that was one of them. Was, all of these photos were up in the CVS, like you couldn't avoid them. They were hanging everywhere, and people then saw him, and no one tipped him in.
Yeah, nobody did. So are you aware?
Oh, no, he said nobody looked at one of those pictures and was like, that kind of looks like you. I was like,
hey, that looks like you. That's you right there. Unsolved Crimes asks you, do you know that Shane's cousin was sentenced to 152 years for child molestation? And he was a former deputy sheriff and was investigated by Rozzie's brother, AJ. I thought it was Rozzie's uncle, but I could be wrong. But same difference. Doesn't matter. One of Rozzie's relatives is also who put away Shane Evans' relative. Locked him up.
I think I saw that on the channel.
Yeah.
And what I meant to say, I don't know that I was specifying the PCA, but the one for the search warrant, they did say Doolin, but I meant, if I didn't say the press release, I meant to say the press release. Like, the defense specifically said he went to meet with Doolin.
Yeah, I think the PCA says the PCA doesn't say it was Doolin. Yeah, I don't know.
Dean says it doesn't say who it will. I think what he's saying is that it doesn't say anybody in the one for arrest.
Forget BG. There are many actors. The BG photo video is not RA. That's another man. Cops need an arrest because of the election.
Oh, I just want to say real quick. Have you watched the any of the debates for the election?
I did.
Okay.
I haven't watched him for a while, but I did watch him back closer to when Allen was arrested.
Okay, well, I went back. I still haven't finished. But one of the things that he says, I don't remember the exact date. Let's say it was like September something. I don't remember. I don't want to lie. And Liggett says that he's the only local investigator still working on the case. He says that he's the only local investigator that's still working the Delphi case. That's what he said.
When was that? Which one was that?
Hold on, it was the September.
That Liggett's the only one?
Mm-hmm. Which is why I was like, okay, so then who brought you this tip, man? Because if I find out you just found this tip, it was September.
So that means nobody else from Carroll County was working on the case.
He was provided the tip narrative on September 21st.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Is it not on here? Now I have to make sure that I put it on here. Maybe the 19th? No, I don't want to lie. I'm looking for it.
You're good.
I know that there's, oh, you know what? I do know that I did download an article that was written like the next day. So let me see. Law enforcement. Yes. So it was a Comet article, and it was October 5th, September 29th. So it was 7 days. 7 days after he supposedly found this tip narrative out of the blue from 5 years prior. And if you read this article, because I was scared that when the comment, like, I don't know if they're going to get rid of all these articles. So I wanted to download them.
Oh yeah, because they all just go away.
Yeah.
Like the one with David Riley. It's just gone.
Yeah. This was written October 5th, 2022. And it's basically says, you know, what happened. And there were a couple things that stood out. And you really, if you watch it, there's like way more than what she put in this article. But he said, one of the things he said was, Pinkard said he believes in being visible and creating community engagement. Liggett said he agreed that outreach and education are good things. Pinkard said he is not a politician, but that he is a cop's cop. Liggett said he is not a politician. Quote, it's not my thing. He said he is grassroots. Contention between the two happened when Liggett said even if he is not elected, he will help the department. Quote, I don't have a problem with Mark. All of us are just good old boys. I'm not a good old boy, Pinkard shot back. And he did. He explained other agencies which tried to help investigate the double homicide and were turned down. Liggett said that was not true, but Pinkard stood his ground. But I'm trying to find where he said, but that is so it was September, what did I say? 29th? Yeah, the 29th. So it was 7 days after he suddenly was, randomly provided this tip narrative.
Okay, so then let me pull this up real quick too. So
here it says, Liggett began blah 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 blah. Only traffic reconstructionist blah blah blah. Liggett is currently the only local investigator working on the double homicide case from 2017, which he said is his top priority. And in that debate, he actually says, like, they asked him something about it, and he was like, things are just looking really good. Like, I can't say anything more than that. Or they're positive. Everything's real positive.
Sorry, give me a second. I got interrupted.
So I think that's really weird. I'm trying to see. Oh, we're talking about the Bridge Gap video? Oh, I can only scroll back so far.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Guy coming out asking for junk food all the time. No freaking word junk food. Jeez.
Mine fell asleep. I'm gonna carry him into his room before he wakes up because my mouth is too loud.
I think Mullins was working as an investigator at the prosecutor's office at the time in conjunction with Carroll County. Okay, so I was going to go look at this. So we were talking about the timing of the tip, right? 9/21. Well, then obviously some people take this for whatever you want. And we know if it's from back in December, there's still a shit ton that was added to all of this. So just take it for what it is. But there are a couple things in here that are interesting when it comes to the timing, because as of September 21st, 2022, right? The only interviews that are really happening are Keegan Klein at the Air Force Base in August. Like I said, there's probably a ton more that are added to this, but then you don't see anything again until 10/3 at the AutoZone. So there's no other interviews in here for a tip to have come from somewhere else. Well, at this time, I should, like, once again, at this point when this was sent out. So 9/21, they get this tip, and then they go, okay, so this is my struggle with this. You have the damn freaking Wabash River search that's like 6 weeks long or whatever it was. They find this tip right around the end time of the Wabash River search. So, like, is something found in the river that goes, let's go back and look at these tips from before?
These are the things I like in there.
Okay, that's fine. You can.
The Reese's Pieces are gone.
Okay.
So can I have these?
So many people have said that Keegan is the reason for the Wabash River search, but I can't actually find that in writing anywhere. And I think I was talking to Sleuthie. I was talking to you about this. Like, I can't find where it's actually stated and not just third-hand information from podcasters that Keegan is the reason for the Wabash River search. If somebody has that in a document, please let me know. You guys, yeah. Who took all the Reese's Pieces? Just let them have them.
I love Reese's Pieces. They're like my favorite.
I love them in popcorn, buttered popcorn. It's not in writing. So this is like one of those, I cannot find it in writing. So it's one of the things that drives me absolutely batty, because everybody's like, well, this is Keegan. You know, they searched the Wabash River because Keegan Kline pointed them there. But I think I can understand why people think that, because Keegan Kline stuff starts to get sealed and it's not public anymore. And then they start searching the Wabash River.
Well, let's be real. Did somebody say that? Did somebody who interviewed him say that he said that he sent them there? And people
not that I
just
can
believed
find
it?
anywhere. I can't find that anywhere.
You're sure those two didn't do it? Didn't say it in one of their...
They may have said it, but I can't find it actually documented to be factual.
Oh, yeah, well.
And I don't have, you know, how I feel about the reliability of that. I don't, there's no reliability there. So, yeah, but is it actually documented anywhere that the reason they searched the river was because of Keegan Kline? That's what I want to know.
I also don't understand the whole back and forth wishy-washiness when it comes to him, because one minute, like, I will hear people saying, like, you know, he knows so much and he told them, you know, this and this and that. But then in the next breath, it's like Keegan does nothing out of his mouth but lie. And the more that I think about it, I think about that, like, that interrogation transcript that got let out. And, like, there were parts of it where I even said to, like, Amber, and when we were doing the read through, and I said, like, some parts of these, I really think he doesn't know what on earth they're talking about. Like, a couple of the spots, like, it really seemed like he would admit to some things. And then there was other stuff where it didn't just seem like he was just trying to say it because he knew it sounded bad. Like, it just seemed like, of course, we were reading it in our own tones, but it just seemed like he really had no earthly idea what they were saying. And so when you take into account the fact that they can lie to you, so they can tell you that they have, you know, they could say, like, why would we, and I don't mean his interrogation, I just mean in general. They could say, why would you be on camera at the trailhead on such and such a date at such and such a time? And you could be like, you wouldn't. And they'd be like, well, why would we see you there? That doesn't mean that they have you on camera. They're just trying to see if you're going to say, oh, well, I was there, you know, blah, 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 because they think you think that they are on camera. So
Right.
How do we know when they said, like, has it ever been absolutely confirmed that, do I think he was ever talking to Libby or it was on their devices? I really don't know. Because he said that he was talking to somebody else at the sleepover.
Right. Mr. Motta, is that you?
What's up, girls?
What are you doing? What is this Mobby Bada?
Oh, that's my old high school nickname, Mobby Bada and the 40 Thieves. What's up? So what are you guys talking about? I can only
Just
I can
talking
only
like all
imagine.
things Delphi. We were talking
Yeah.
right now. We're talking about the Wabash River search, but before we were talking about the motion for continuance that Rozzi put in.
Yes. Yeah, I knew when Sleuthie ghosted out of my stream that some shit had gone down. It's always a telltale sign, you know. It's like she gone, and then I get
Something's
an
happening.
email from her. Yeah, yeah. I mean, man, I don't know. It's never ending.
Mm-hmm.
It's really never
So,
ending.
so do you think that she's gonna allow a continuance, or you think she's just gonna say nope? Sorry, Rozzi, you need to be here no matter what.
Oh man.
We know what the right answer should be, Bob.
Yeah. No,
But what do you think is going to be the answer?
man, I just if she
That's
doesn't,
going back to the Supreme Court.
yeah, if she doesn't get him, if she doesn't give him the continuance, I don't know, man. It's like, what do I think she's gonna do? I think she's gonna deny the continuance. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, man. It's like the biggest pissing match I've ever seen, like, and the whole world's watching, and she doesn't give one fuck.
That's what we
know?
were saying. Was it's like she knows what's the right thing to do and does the exact opposite. But
Yeah,
he warned her in that continuance motion for continuance. He said, like, if you deny this shit, we have precedent to file a new original action. And
yeah,
like, I think he will.
I think he will too.
I think that's what's going to happen.
And I think Carol will be more than happy to draft it up.
That's what I said. I said she probably already started thinking about and putting down little notes.
Oh man, it's like she's just not doing, you know. And I started reading, like shit on Twitter, like people giving Rosie shit. I'm like, what do you expect them to do? You know, it's like she makes this shit like the day after the Super Bowl. You know, like me personally, I was so happy when I saw this motion go through because I'm like, we're gonna be in Tennessee, and I'm like, oh, really? Now I have to fucking like figure out how to fly from Knoxville, Tennessee to get to Delphi, like the
Well, when
night.
she denies it, I mean, you're going to have to.
Oh my
Because you're going to have to
God,
be there to see what happens. Unless
I
she's going to
know,
let cameras again.
right?
That should be a red
Which,
flag.
She's gonna let
yeah,
cameras in just so that the world can see what she's gonna do to
Yeah.
them now.
right. I mean, so we could see what we already know. Like there was nothing new in McClelland's motion. You know, it was all the same shit.
I think
Uh,
anytime she wants to see them in Allen County, it's because she's going to, like, because it's a nicer courthouse. I think that the idea is, well, if we're going to be on camera, we're going to be at the nicer, bigger one.
yeah, well, I mean, that courtroom is
It's beautiful.
stunning. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely much nicer and bigger than Carroll County's courthouse, obviously. Carroll County actually has a nice courthouse, but it's quaint, it's small, you know. And I think that courtroom we're in is probably the biggest of the bunch, you know, in Carroll County. But it's still not that big. But it's nice. It's old. I like old courtrooms. I like the trappings of the court, you know.
Bob, did you see Lebrato's interview from today?
The one on the local news?
Yeah.
Mhm.
No.
Oh, he Michael Jacksoned it this morning.
What do you mean?
He walked entirely backwards.
Shut
And
up. Throw
yeah,
it
and I'm
up.
You want me to play it for you?
Yeah. Sorry if you've all seen it. I gotta check this shit out though.
For the first time in months, we're about to hear from one of his former attorneys. But first, a quick update on the latest. This week, we told you that the Carroll County prosecutor believes Allen's attorneys should be held in contempt of court. And once again, Allen's original attorneys, who are back on the case, want Judge Fran Gull off the case. All of this while the families of Liberty German and Abigail Williams wait for some form of justice in this case all these years later. Allen County Chief Public Defender Bill Lebrato who replaced Allen's original attorneys before they were put back on the case, joins us live this morning. Mr. Lebrato, thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Yeah, I want to get into quickly. I know that you're no longer under the gag order, and that's why you can talk to us. But as I know, too, as Richard Allen's former attorney, there's a lot you still can't say. But can you share with us your feelings just on this chaos of the case? And it just at times feels like a circus. Have you ever seen anything like this in all your years?
No. This case has been unusual from the beginning. It has garnered so much media attention nationally. When I was still attorney of record, I would get calls from other countries.
Wow.
So no, I've never seen so many twists and turns in a case such as these.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about how you would have tried the case in general terms. I know you can't get into a lot of it, but as far as the Odinism theory, that came up and so many people had never even heard of it. I never had. And I read that you originally had said that you thought it was hocus pocus, but now you've uncovered that it is the real thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's true. I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what it was when I first read about it. So the more involved my defense team got into the case, there are people that follow this Odin religion. There are people that were very brazen at the time of the murders on their Facebook accounts about being part of this Odinistic cult. Now, whether they're responsible, I don't know. I don't want to really get into what our legal defense theory would have been, because I don't want to hinder the current attorney's defense, whatever that might be.
Can you tell me about Richard Allen now? I mean, we've seen him lose so much weight. We have seen, people basically want him tortured now, believing that he's guilty before being proven guilty. Tell me a little bit about your interactions with him, and why do you believe that he's innocent?
Interactions with him, he's soft-spoken. He's engaged in his defense. He's always very respectful to us in our meetings with him. I think he's not guilty or innocent because I believe the presumption of innocence is one of the most important legal theories that we have. And
yeah, very different.
That presumption of innocence carries with him through every stage of the trial until the jury has heard all the evidence, including closing arguments, and until they deliberate. That presumption of innocence follows him the whole way.
How do you reconcile being a defense?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Being a defense attorney, I know you get so much pushback on people that already believe that he, like you said, he's guilty already. How do you reconcile, like, if the family of Liberty or Abigail are watching this morning, how do you share that passion of where that comes from you, that you will defend someone at this point in your life?
Well, obviously my heart goes out to the families of those two little girls. I mean, this was a horrific, horrific crime. But I'm sure the families want to make sure that law enforcement not only arrests, but convicts the right person or people that were involved in this heinous crime.
Can Fran Gull, the judge, be fair, in your opinion?
Judge Gull knows no other way than to be fair. I've practiced in front of Judge Gull for 25 years. She does not play favorites. The Supreme Court did not pick her name out of a hat. They chose her for a specific reason. And in their ruling, they unanimously voted that Judge Gull stays on this case. Her ethical and moral standards are beyond approach.
Hey, before
Oh my God!
ask you
It's
too,
reproach.
it seems like every couple of days a new one is filed. Do you think that there's a possibility
beyond
you
approach?
could end up back on the case? Have you even thought about that? I mean, I believe you're handing over the documents today to the first attorneys.
That wouldn't be a decision I would be in place to make.
Yeah.
Several motions have been filed by the reinstated defense team. I know motions have been filed by the elected prosecutor in Carroll County. If I was ever to be put back on the case, that's not a decision I would be in position to make.
I assume that you would want to take the case back if it was offered to you? Or no?
If for some reason Judge Gull wanted to appoint our office again, it would make sense since my defense team was on this case for 79 days and we've got a pretty good grasp of, what we're after and what we need to do.
Allen County Chief Public Defender. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, interrupt you. There's nothing that's,
there's nothing I'm going to do to try to get back on the case.
No, I'm just thinking with, all these motions now back out there, we just never know. And it seems like every day there's something new. Mr. Lebrato, thank you very much for your insight. We appreciate you.
All right, Bob.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as the presumed innocence thing, I think that's what he has to do. I mean, if you look at, like the rules of professional conduct in terms of pretrial publicity, and he was engaged as counsel. I think that he had, he screwed up the other night when he said that he thought he was actually innocent. You're not supposed to do that. To the extent where you can get dinged by the disciplinary committee. So I think somebody probably got in his ear with respect to that, and it was probably Gull or another lawyer's like, yo, dude, you can't go out there saying your guy's actually innocent. You could say, they're presumed innocent. So I'm not reading too much into that one.
Interesting. You could get in trouble saying that he actually thinks his client is innocent?
Yeah, actually innocent. Yeah, you gotta be careful with the language. It's just one of those things where, we've gotten in trouble with it before. So you've got to kind of really be careful in terms of wording. So that I think that's why he walked that back. Because the guy still wants to be on the case. I mean, that's incredibly evident. And it's that case. That's what I keep saying. Guys that are repping a guy that have looked through discovery and the guy is screwed. Nobody is fighting to get back on that case. Take as far as a defense attorney. No one likes to get hammered in a high profile case. It's not something that you fight to get back involved with. You know what I mean? And he's just this is the second time where he's made a statement that's pretty clear that he'd very much so like to be, involved with it. Obviously, he's making it clear that it wouldn't be anything that he would do, but his office would be a good choice since we were on the case for 79 days. It's it's just one of those cases. I'm sure that there was a conversation between him and Gull after his appearance with Barbara.
I wondered that.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I have zero doubt. So
and I figured his comments about Gull and how she's beyond approach, which is it's actually an ironic term because most people do think she's beyond approach, but that's neither here. But that she's beyond approach and how ethical she is what else is he supposed to say? He still has to go try cases in front of this woman.
All the time. He's
right.
The public defender of Allen County. His office is in the courthouse. His office mans all the courtrooms, and he's the head guy. And she's the chief judge, and she handles the heavy duty. She's his judge. I'm sure he's in front of her more than any other judge, because he's handling the major felonies. So, which was always my thing with him. It wasn't that You know, he's not a fine lawyer. He might be, you know, but in terms of that relationship, it's inappropriate. You know, it's like it's a Carroll County case that's turning into an Allen County case very quickly. And they have no vested interest in it because none of the victims live there. You
Right.
know, it has nothing to do with Allen County other than the special judge was assigned from that county. That's it. And it's quickly turning into an Allen County case, which is bizarre. So I don't. The whole thing is just, I don't know. It's never ending.
It
You
doesn't
know?
stop every day. I'm like, when I wake up, I'm like, what the hell's going to happen today? I can't even like I want to go talk to about like other cases. And I'm like, nope, Delphi dropped something else today.
I know. Well, I did the Crumley thing, and you know, lo and behold, like there's another, there's more shit. Like I thought it was going to be her denial of the recusal motion. That's what I was expecting today. You know, so I like Rozzie's response is pretty solid though. Like his motion to continue, it's got some teeth. You know.
Well, he cites like 7 different reasons on why it should be continued. So like even if she denies it on one reason, then he's still got like 6 others to fall back on.
Right.
So I have to. I want to see. I want your opinion on this. So McClelland requested or motioned for a gag order on November 22nd of 2022.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that's been a point of contention is that the defense put out a press release on December 1st, knowing that there was a pending motion for a gag order. But on November 23rd of 2022, McClelland actually put out a press release stating that the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office appreciates the judges in hearing our arguments yesterday morning and looks forward to her ruling. As I stated in court yesterday, we strongly believe the evidence shows Richard Allen was involved in the murder of Libby and Abby. Because the investigation is ongoing and given the intense public interest in this case, we think it would be best if the documents remain sealed. Regardless of the ruling, we believe we have a very solid case against Mr. Allen and look forward to making our argument in trial. So he requested on November 22nd, puts out his own press release on November 23rd. The defense team puts out a press release on December 1st, and they want to call it grossly negligent. What are your thoughts?
No, call bullshit on that, right? I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. He started it. You know what I mean?
So it's
he
like
started it.
they both put out press releases in a time where there was nothing actually ordered by the court on the gag order.
Exactly. I mean, it's pending, and you know, McClelland's coming at him in that, you know, Rozzi said we don't want to try the case in the media, which again was the opening line of the press release. You know what I mean? Like that was literally the first line in the press release. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, everything that is going on with the case right now is just like I just don't like I can't even see where it's going to go. It's so
many
insane.
options.
I mean, there are. It's like we're still not anywhere closer to actually litigating the case. It seems like we're actually moving further away. You know, you would have thought that coming out of that oral argument and the order reinstating these guys that they would have just said, all right, okay, no one's thrilled about it. We're not thrilled Gull's still on there. Gull's not thrilled that they're on there again. And McClelland's, you know, mortified. And you know, so we're gonna move forward with it. You know, we're gonna just move forward with the trial. We're gonna do the best we can, but we're gonna wait until the opinion drops so we could see what the rationale of the court was. I mean, how do you not wait? In everything that was done by the defense now has been responsive. You know what I mean? Like they were not the ones to fire the first shot post reappointment.
Nope, she did. She went in there and just said denied, 2 motions, no hearing, one that she didn't deny for 7 months, and the other one that she literally told the other attorneys, let me know and we'll schedule a hearing. And then she's like, nope, these guys are back. Too bad. You're done. Denied.
Yeah, and look, I've been clear. You know, I mean, the things could have gone to hearing, and I fully expected her to deny them at hearing, but the difference between that and what she did is that there's a record of it. You know, I mean, where she puts her reasoning and her rationale and cites some cases as to why, you know, her very brief order, really, it was 3 motions. It was denying the preliminary finding
True.
to get them to a Franks. It was the motion to suppress the search of Allen's house, and then the motion in limine regarding the, you know, the unspent casing. So those are 3 major motions, you know, in a very, very high publicity, very, very, you know, like serious count is, you know, the big dog homicide count case where, you know, you need a record. It's like people that, you know, just kind of like casually observe trials and enjoy true crime, you know, and they hear about all this shit. They're like, oh, well, you know, what the hell? But it's like, people just always have to keep in the back of their mind that everything the defense attorneys are doing is always to make sure to preserve issues for the appellate record. Because if you don't do it in the pretrial stages and in trial itself, it's waived. You can't say, oh, well, this was an issue, but we forgot to object at trial, or we forgot to file the proper motions in terms of saying that this should have been kept out. You know, I mean, you have to do these things in order to preserve that record. In the event that there's a conviction and down the road, you have to appeal it, because otherwise the issues 99% of the time are going to be waived, you know? I mean, and then you're relying on, you know, things like ineffective, which, you know, are very tough to get overturned and sent back to trial. Like that's not where you want to be, you know, because typically they're gonna, you know, not remand unless there's some really, really egregious ineffective assistance going on. So, you know, it's like people just kind of like have to grasp the concept of preserving the record, and that's why all these things take place. It's like everything that Rozzie's doing is to make a record. I promise you, everything. He's laying out all this stuff in these motions to make a record. So then if this thing goes sideways for whatever reason, and if Allen's convicted, you know, and it's a different story if it turns out at trial they have some smoking gun evidence that we don't know about, you know, and it's like, oh, well, shit, you know, we were dead wrong. They had him all along. They had this incredible evidence, and it's clear that it was Rick Allen, you know. But if it's not that, and we have to look back at everything that has transpired in the last 8 months, and you have to wonder, you know, did he get a fair trial? Like, did all of this stuff happening allow for him to get a fair trial? Because everything that's going on for the people that are pro-prosecution, pro-guilt, you know, they look at this, like everything that's going on, the defense is doing in response, truly in response, you know, is them being obnoxious and being clowns, and, you know, like all the tweets and all the stuff that you read about these guys from people that don't, you know, really understand the law and, you know, and how it operates. Because it's, I mean, you have to go to law school and pass the bar for a reason, you know.
Well,
I mean,
in California, you don't have to go to law school. You can just pass the bar.
Yeah, I mean, would you hire somebody who didn't go to law school and just pass the bar? I mean,
No.
I don't know.
I guess it depends on how well they did on the bar without going to law school. But Aspen has a question for you. So what is your opinion on Nick saying that the defense has not sent over their discovery?
I mean, that's basically just experts. You know what I mean? It's like in terms of reciprocal discovery, like the extent of what we typically get are experts, our expert reports. What I felt, Aspen, is that it rang hollow because they removed them when they were still in the process of getting your discovery, Nick. Like, how are you supposed to hire your experts when you still have discovery outstanding? Like, you need to get all the discovery in before you can truly kind of settle into, you know, your total defense package and decide, all right, this is what we need. We need a forensic phone guy. We need, you need all of it. You just don't, especially when you're having to go to the court and beg for the money to hire your experts. I mean, Rick Allen's indigent. So anytime they need money for experts, they're having to go to the judge who hates their guts and say, hey, we need money. We want to get our own DNA. Like, we want to get Carl Reich to look at it. We want to get a forensic phone guy, and we want to have the phone turned over to our experts so they can extract it themselves, or the devices, if there's multiple devices. All those things can't be done until discovery is fully tendered, to devise a complete defense and to start dumping money into experts when it's going to be limited funds is nothing that a competent attorney would do. So him bitching about them not having experts, I don't know that they may not have retained experts yet. So there's nothing to turn over.
Well, isn't the timing obviously very weird when the trial currently is actually set for October of this year? Would the defense even have to hand over anything currently?
Well, I mean, if I'm McClelland, I'm making the argument that they made the representation a couple of times in chambers and via email and during a phone call that they intended on filing the speedy, which was signed in August, on November 1st or the 2nd, right after the discovery deadline would have passed. And if I'm McClelland, I'm making the argument, okay, well, they can't sit here and say that they weren't ready to go to trial and they haven't tendered to us who their experts are, yet they're claiming that they were ready to go to trial in 2 months. So, which is it? Are you ready or aren't you ready? You know what I mean? I mean, that would be my argument if I'm the prosecution.
But there's so many motions being submitted where they have to focus now on even just maintaining their ability to represent Richard Allen, much less actually representing.
We're nowhere near any of the issues that are relating to the trial. You know what I mean? Everything that's pending right now has nothing to do with the trial other than who's going to be on it. Is Gull going to be there? Is McClelland going to be there? Is, are Baldwin and Rozzi going to be there? Because it's all up in the air. I'm adamant. I'm adamant about the fact that as soon as McClelland slipped up in his motion for his contempt motion and stated that he was accessing attorney work product between Baldwin and Mitch, that it just is he had, and it was a case that's not in his county, that he had no business looking into the evidence whatsoever. He's not a cop. It's not his county. And moreover, law enforcement would have said, hey, man, there's some privileged communications here. There's some, Baldwin's talking about strategy. He's talking about you not being ready for trial and that your hair plugs look ridiculous, and and you probably shouldn't take a peek at this. In my estimation, he a motion for a special prosecutor has to be filed immediately.
Yeah. And
I'm talking not just for the trial, but for everything moving forward, including who's going to sit on, is there any way that Gull should be sitting on this contempt thing? There's no way.
No, so that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. And I know that you've been on all day, doing the Crumbly case, and we've been on here for 3 hours, so I don't want to keep you all night. But I wanted to ask you, since essentially the Supreme Court didn't rule on the merits of Gull removing them, they simply ruled on his Sixth Amendment right to counsel of choice and reinstated them. Are we possibly looking at this contempt where it goes very quickly in front of the judge? She says, yes, you guys are being held in contempt. And then she can go ahead and say, look, you guys were grossly negligent. You were held in contempt. And now I'm removing you.
I don't think so. I don't think that that's one of her remedies. Like I think it's a sanction or jail, you know, and it's exactly like Rozzi was arguing in there. He didn't delineate, he being McClelland didn't delineate whether it's civil or criminal contempt. They're different things. Like indirect civil contempt is a very different thing than indirect criminal contempt. So, you know, I mean, there's just issues all over the place. It's like McClelland's making moves, but he doesn't really know how to make them. You know what I mean? It's like he's filing these things and he doesn't really know what they mean. You know, and I'm assuming that Luttrell is helping him with this stuff. Like Luttrell is like a seasoned prosecutor, you know, but like
Right.
you can't leave somebody guessing as to what type of contempt you're trying to say that they've, you know, that they have to show that they aren't, you know, guilty of conducting. You know, it's like you have to, words matter in the law, you know, and it's like, because I like when I was going through it the other night, you know, I'm assuming that it's indirect civil contempt, you know, because that's typically what it is. And they're just different things with different sanctions. I don't see a world under the law in which she can remove them based on this, in light of what the Supreme Court just did. In reality, I mean, she could do whatever the hell she wants. You know, I mean, like what, you know, what the law says is one thing, what Gull does is another, and there's nothing to stop her other than to continue to go knocking on the door of the Supreme Court of Indiana, who I don't know what their position will be at this point. I mean, I would kill to be a fly on the wall, like, and just listen to what they're saying. Like, as all this shit rolls out, man, it's like, it's unbelievable. You know, it's like,
Do you think that like Justice Rush and the others are paying attention still?
oh my God, are you kidding? Of
Well,
course
I
they
think
are.
they are. I'm just wondering what you think.
Of course, absolutely. Like, there's no way that they're not paying attention to what's going on. You know, they're in the process of writing the opinion. You know, and it's like, I wanted to ask Kara. I meant to ask Kara. I'm like, I thought I was tweeting, like DMing her or texting her, and I wanted to ask, can they amend their order prior to issuing the opinion and remove Gull? Like, that would be the easiest thing, you know, to say, all right, well, you know, we weren't going to do this, you know, this way. We were going to kind of let it stand as it was with respect to the judge, but in light of everything that's been going on, and in light of Judge Gull deciding that she didn't see fit to wait until our opinion came out and started making big moves, which has now caused a tidal wave of filings, you know, and it just, like, you can't look at it objectively. Anybody who's looking at it objectively and saying that this is normal or that she doesn't appear to be biased is full of shit. Like,
Well, so
in
that,
all
like,
honesty.
well, that's my opinion too. We were stating that earlier, but I don't understand if the opinion comes out and says we reinstated these guys to send it back to the trial court, and obviously it's going to be in much more legal terms than I'm going to use, but we reinstate them, we send it back to the trial court, and then you guys go back and just do it the way that it was supposed to be done to begin with. So she can file to have them removed, and they can file to have her removed, and so on and so forth. If that's the opinion, and then everything is supposed to be done at the trial court, because how does she not have the ability to still remove them if they're held in criminal contempt?
Well, because I don't think that that's a proper remedy for criminal contempt. You know, like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's sanctions or
No, I
fines.
don't mean like, I don't mean her decision on the contempt. I mean what she does after she makes that decision, like using it against them and to have them removed. Like,
I
saying,
don't.
I already
Yeah,
ruled you
no,
guys criminal
I hear what
contempt.
you're saying.
Now,
I don't think that Indiana Supreme Court is going to issue an opinion that is going to give her the ability to be able to go back, conduct the hearing, and then remove them. Like, I think that they'll give her the ability to go back, conduct a hearing if they so choose, which they obviously have, and sanction them. You know, I mean, the Chief Justice was very clear. It's a Gonzalez thing at this point. Like, this stuff just does not rise to the level of removing them from the case. None of it does. You know,
So
it's a bunch
no
of
matter what happens
ticky
with the
tack
contempt,
shit.
yeah. So no matter what happens with the contempt motion, Baldwin and Rozzi are going to be his attorneys. That's what I think I want to know. Is there, what backdoor way is there to have them removed again? Because why would this news reporter even be asking about, if, you know, with all the motions that are happening right now, if you guys would be back on the case if the other ones aren't? Like, I'm thinking, why wouldn't they be?
Well, I mean, first of all, because the news reporter doesn't know her ass from a hole in the ground. Like, she has no. I mean, is she a former attorney?
I
Do
don't
we
know.
know?
Yeah,
Nah,
no.
I mean, she's asking questions like, you know, I mean,
Okay.
she's a reporter, dude. You know, I mean, unless you've got reporters that were attorneys, like, she just probably is not educated in the law. I can't see a way in which she's going to be able to remove them that's going to stand. You know, I can't see it when the High Court of Indiana has already ruled on it. You know, because if they wanted to do that, if they wanted to do what you're suggesting, the order would have been, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're sending it back. You're going to have your damn hearing. And at that point, if you think that you've made a strong enough case that it outweighs Rick Allen's Sixth Amendment right to counsel, then you could try to remove them, you know, but it might end up back here. You know what I mean? It's like,
Okay.
I just can't see a path for them, like them being Gull and McClelland, you know, getting these guys off the case. Like, to me, this is, and that doesn't mean that she won't try. You know, I mean, like, at this point, I can't put anything past her. I like, she doesn't care. You know, she doesn't care the way it looks publicly. She doesn't care, obviously, what the Supreme Court may think of her actions. You know, she doesn't care. It's not, you know, it's not her thing. Like, she's dug in, and, you know, it's obvious to me she's not withdrawing. She's not going to recuse herself. You know, I like, there's no way she's going through all this shit and then just says, "Oh, I'm good. Take care. I just left the case in shambles, but you guys, good luck with it." You know, and I'm gonna step off. It's like, that would have been the move. Like, you know, like right after she denied the motions, that would have been her parting gift. You know, here you go. I denied all your motions. Now I'm going to recuse myself off the case. You know, but it's like, she did that. You know, and you know, I think that the only argument against whether or not she had the ability to rule on those motions at that time, you know, because Rozzi had already filed a motion to recuse her, but it was on the 25th of October when she considered them not to be of counsel anymore. They weren't Rick's attorneys, you know, even though Rozzi felt like he was. He filed his verification and of continuing representation, but, you know, in her eyes, that thing was invalid, had no effect, because he wasn't of, you know, he wasn't an attorney in the case. He wasn't a party in the case. So, you know, so then she very quickly, because I think her denial came because she anticipated that those guys were going to seek to remove her the same way they were probably anticipating that they were going to seek to have the hearing, you know, if for nothing else, to just make them out to be complete douchebags in public, you know, because it's like, when people just hear the broad strokes of things and they're not like really digging in, which is going to be a vast majority of people, it's going to make the defense lose credibility, because all the people are going to hear is leak, and press release and violating court order. That's all the people are going to hear, which just does damage to Rick Allen and his attorneys in terms of public perception, and the public ends up being the jury. I mean, it's a mess. It really is. It's not getting any better. It's just
No,
not.
it's getting worse.
It really is.
So then
Yeah.
and I want to let you go anyway. So, but I wanted to know, and Kim Kelly also asked, well, one, why wasn't a special prosecutor appointed in the first place? Since Nick doesn't have the experience, like, why wouldn't that have just automatically been done? And then two, now who files to have a special prosecutor appointed and Nick gone? And then on top of that, who is the one who decides?
If Nick had, well, I think it should be in front of a different special judge. I think that's who that would have to go in front of first and foremost. I think it's within the right of the defense to ask for it. Ethically, if Nick is made aware that he should not have been accessing, I think what anybody in the legal game would consider to be attorney work product, and it doesn't like it. People use the word privilege with work product, and it's related. I mean, they're different things, but like people use it interchangeably with work product or attorney work product. But the fact that like Mitch is not a lawyer does not make him accessing Andy Baldwin's thoughts and trial strategies with whoever he was working with in terms of trying to come up with strategy, whether that be a guy who just graduated from law school, which Mitch did. He's got a law degree. He considers him a confidant, considers him to be a strategist. I mean, whatever the case may be, that wasn't for Nick to be reading. I mean, they take the attorney work product thing very, very seriously. And anytime there's any kind of issue like that, like in cases where we've handled like a variety of different type of cases where all of a sudden there's a prosecutor who typically, like in Illinois, they always come from Springfield, which is the state capital, and they're good at their jobs. They're all good prosecutors. They know what the hell they're doing. They travel around to all the different counties in the state, and they try cases when there's conflicts, because it's always when the state's attorney's office is conflicted out for whatever reason. It can be a relationship with, that they formerly tried somebody, or they had somebody in their office that worked, for somebody, and they knew the defendant. Like, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons and why they can be conflicted out, but like accessing that kind of information in this kind of trial, which is clearly attorney work product. Like, nobody's talking about that like they should be, but they will be.
I did a whole live talking about the difference between work product and discovery and privilege. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you're smart though. I'm talking about like I'm talking about the news. Who's not so smart, like they just don't, they don't know.
It's just a leak. That's what everything comes down to. So, okay, if they request to have a special prosecutor take over the case and Nick to be removed, who makes the decision on that?
Ultimately, I would hope that it would be the Supreme Court would be the one who would select the special prosecutor, or it could be the Attorney General. Typically, like in Illinois, it's the Attorney General.
So the motion wouldn't go to Judge Gull, and then she rules whether he has to be gone or not?
It can't play out that way. Like it's got to go to a special judge to make that determination. Like as far as I'm concerned, it's like it's so messy. Like if Gull wasn't where she's at in the middle of her, fighting recusal and just everything that's going on, it's not her call. Like typically, but like typically it is heard in front of whoever the trial judge is. Like, if the state's attorney's office in one of the counties that we're practicing in says, hey, we had a conflict, we had to step back and let the, AG assign special prosecutor to it. They make the motion in front of the trial judge, and the trial judge grants it. You know what I mean? Because it's not an issue. Because the state has come forward and they've acknowledged that there was a conflict and that they can't handle it because they don't want it to be an issue when it goes up on appeal. And they
But we already know that they don't care about that. That's
right, but
they don't care about
I
that
know.
part.
I know it, so I mean, if you're asking me to predict, like, it'll probably be Gull, but it shouldn't be, it's just, it's everything's such a mess with it. It's so hard to figure, it's like what is McClelland looking at Mitch's phone? Like what, like they already had several agencies, namely the Indiana State Police, investigating a leak relating to a case in which they have a vested interest in getting a conviction in, right? Like, so that there's already, that already stinks in terms of like who should have been investigating that. And then you have an out-of-county prosecutor who is now reviewing evidence that was gotten via a warrant in a misdemeanor conversion case of somebody's iCloud, which has nothing to do. Like, somebody explained to me how that iCloud account in any way relates to the crime of conversion.
It doesn't.
And especially in light of the fact that the guy has, for all intent, you want to talk about a confession. I mean, Westerman's affidavit is that's an actual confession. I didn't have authority. I went in there. I took photographs that I wasn't authorized to take, distributed them. That's, you know what I mean? It's like, what are they accessing this guy's iCloud account for? And then what is Nick McLean, what is his business looking in to the text messages between Andy Baldwin and Mitch? Like, who can make a rational explanation as to why that occurred?
Nope. I don't know any. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are going to try to make no sense to me, especially when it's not even the conversations he references in his motion are talking about their candid conversations, not even about the leak. It's just about what Baldwin thinks of Nick and Judge Gull, like candidly talking about the state and the court. Well, that really has nothing to do with anything.
Right. It has nothing to do with anything. And it also, I guarantee you, had a bunch of attorney work product in there in terms of trial strategy and thoughts and all the things that make up attorney work product that are not discoverable. It's like, it's a mess, man. It's crazy. Like, when I read Nick's motion, I'm like, holy shit, this guy just admitted that he was reading Baldwin's, attorney work product text. I'm like, he's done. Like, he's got to go. They got to file for a special, they have to spot. They got to get him out of there because Nick's not going to do it. He's not going to say, ooh, I made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
I shouldn't have done that. Like, there's not going to be a mea culpa from Nick. There should be, like this is like when, like, Baldwin and Rozzi should be preparing the exact same memo or motion for contempt against Nick McClelland, using the same thing. Oh, well, Your Honor, we stood in front of you on November, whatever it was, and, Nick had filed his motion asking for a gag, and then he decided to go ahead and make a press release talking about Richard Allen. We believe he's guilty, and then, it's like everything, and my whole thing with, I just can't, it's so much. And it's like, and my whole thing with the leak, again, is just, who did it benefit ultimately? I mean, to me, like I always look at who's going to benefit from that. Like when you try to sit there and think of like what Westerman's motive could have been if it was, I mean, there's only three possibilities that exist in the world. There's one that Westerman was so adamant about proving to the world that the Odinist thing had legs, that he decided to pimp these things and he was hoping to distribute them out to the world so the world could see, oh my God, yeah, these are runes. So there's that. Where Mitch on his own accord decides that he's going to take it upon himself because he's concerned about everything that's going on with Rick Allen's case, and he feels like he's being railroaded. So, you know, the fellas can't do it themselves, and like I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take a bunch of hell for it, but it's worth it because I'm saving this guy's life, right? So there's that, and then there's that Baldwin orchestrated it, you know, under the guise that Mitch pimped them in order to achieve the same goal, which is insane because it's just like we fight to the death to keep those kind of photographs not only out from the public, but out at trial because we don't want the jury to see them, because all they do is create a situation where the jury is coming from a place of emotion instead of facts and evidence and law. You know, I mean, there is no advantage to the defense, and there is, I imagine, no crime scene photos that would have been able to show the sticks and the formations of whatever potential runes they might be that wouldn't have included the girls in the pictures. So, I mean, like, I don't see how that's happening in a way that could have possibly have benefited the defense. And then the third possibility is that McClellan wanted these guys off the case. And somehow he got to Mitch, or got somebody to get to Mitch, and squeezed him to run this move. You know, I mean, to me, are there other possibilities that I'm not thinking of?
I mean, I think just the simple one of that Mitch just wanted to have inside info he could share with his buddy. I mean, that's the simple one. But I mean, those are your main three are those three. I agree.
I mean, who are you talking about? With Fortson? He wanted to share pictures with Fortson?
Yeah, because they were buddies.
Yeah, but what is like really? What does Fortson give a fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why does he want to see the like?
Because he followed the case from the beginning along with his family.
So what? Like, so all of a sudden,
I'm just telling you, like, look at, I've got like the inside scoop kind of thing. You know, like people like to have like the more info than other people have.
By seeing pictures that you'd have to be like the biggest scumbag in the world to ever release to the public. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the one thing that if you have any shred of decency, any shred of humanity, and you had those, there would be no way that you would ever allow for them to leave your presence. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who would put those out? Like, anybody that were to put them out would be shamed from here to the depths of hell. Like anyone who decided to put out anything that would have displayed the girls would have been run off the planet.
Well, to put them in the public, yeah, but to have them and nobody else does.
So what? For what purpose?
I wouldn't even. You wouldn't, but I'm telling you, just being in this world for as long as I have now, that is a huge social media thing, is to have info that nobody else has. Your secret sources, your secret people. That's what people like live for when it comes to the social media side of it. You're looking at it from a personal and a professional side of it. I'm just saying that the other option,
an ethical side.
Yeah, ethical.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, like, that is it's what it is. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's what people want. Like, I have something you don't have. I have access to stuff you don't have access to.
I mean, I get the concept of, you know, trying to beat people to, you know, to get the story. Like, obviously, I get that, but this ain't that. You know what I mean? I mean, the crime scene photos are what they are. Like they're useless to you in the sense that you obviously, again, if you have them and you're saying that you have them, but if you've got a shred of decency, you wouldn't spread them around. You certainly wouldn't put them on the internet. Like, I would just think you were full of shit. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I don't know. I just don't see what the obsession with having those things is. I just like I don't know. I guess you're right. For me, it's just like I've seen so many crime scene photographs over 20 years that it's just like it's not something that I would covet, you know, in a case, no matter how huge it was. But, you know, especially if like the end game isn't to like release it, you know? Like that to
No,
me that seems like
it's not normally ever is to release it. It's normally, and that's what I'm saying. That's this side of the world of I have it, you don't. I know things that you don't know. I have access to people and items that you will never have access to because I've done all of this work to get these sources.
yeah, well it sounds like, you know, I mean, people like that I typically think are full of shit.
No,
I mean, that's just my thing, you know. It's like
I don't disagree.
you know, I don't believe a word that they say. I think that, you know, and there's a lot of them out there. You
And
know,
like Chelsea
that's
makes
what,
a good point. Like the case has been surrounded in secrecy for 7 years. And so people, and any little tidbit of accurate information that they can possibly get.
who, just some random individual that needs to know?
That's,
Like
yeah.
Robert Ford, he just needed to know. Like there was no other reason other than he just needed to know. So we think that, yeah. So I think that the most like would you consider to be the most like Occam's razor type solution to the puzzle is probably the least likely. You know what I mean? It's like you think, and I have no idea how tight Mitch Westerman and Robert Fortson were, but you know, I have a pretty good idea based on everything that I've read that Andy and Mitch were pretty tight. You know, like I can't see that relationship with Fortson, but who knows? Like I'd be completely wrong. Like I mean, maybe they were great buddies. You
I
know,
was
maybe
just
they.
throwing out like the other option to add to your three. That was all I was.
Yeah.
I
All
think
right.
they're all very possible. Now,
Yeah.
I just know that there are people who want to have that. So one more question, then I have to go, and I know you need to go rest because you can't do this all day every day of your life.
I know.
So if this goes to the hearing, and like Rozzi said in his motion, he gets discovery because it's criminal contempt. So would he get access to how Nick McClelland was getting the information about the search warrant on the iCloud?
So wait, ask the question again.
Okay, so if Rozzi gets discovery regarding the criminal contempt, then would he get access to how McClelland was brought or was aware of the information from the search warrant on Mitch's iCloud? Would like who told him that, how he got that? You see what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, well, we know from his own words that he had been investigating it for 17 hours straight. So, you know, I mean, he put himself in the investigation of the leak. We know that from like Nick's own words in terms of, you know, when we had the, you know, the record of proceedings came out and we saw the emails and the transcripts and like, so we know that he was involved. If you're asking if we're going to finally get to see this mysterious warrant,
yeah,
like that's what I want to know. Where's the warrant? Why can't anyone, and I'm talking about some of the finest diggers that I know, cannot find the warrant? Yeah, I mean, yes, like he'll absolutely have to get a copy of the warrant, and he'll absolutely, you know, I mean, is there going to be a police report that says that, like, are they going to be stupid enough to say, oh, Yeah, we were all sitting in our office over here at the Indiana State Police, and Nick McClellan was with us, and we were reading through all of Rosie and Mitch's text message. Like, I mean, no one's gonna write that in a report. So I mean,
No,
you
I'm just
send.
meaning, like, let's say that there is the people who were investigating it who are sending these things, because McClellan wouldn't be the one to sign off on this warrant, and he's not the one that's in charge of the charges against Westerman.
He has nothing to do with it.
He has nothing to do with it. So the people that are sending him the info that he actually isn't privy to.
Are you asking if Rosie's going to be able to get the dirt on McClelland? Are you asking if Rosie's going to be able to go in and he's going to be able to ask for a warrant for McClelland's iCloud account so he could get McClelland's text messages so he could see who McClelland was talking to in order to get himself privy to that shit? That would be amazing, but it's not happening.
Okay. I like how you just take what I say and you just sum it all up into the perfect words. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, right. That's what we all want to happen, but there's like zero chance. Like, there's no way. I mean, because the one thing that you have to always remember is that, like, all law enforcement agencies are the right arm of the prosecutor's office. Like, they are their boots on the ground guys, So, and prosecutors go to great lengths to protect their cops, and cops will go to great lengths to protect their prosecutors. It's a very incestuous relationship. It's just that's facts.
Damn it!
I know.
Wanted to know the dirt.
Well, let's start out with the warrant. I want to see what the probable cause was on a conversion charge for them to step in front of a judge and get access to this guy's iCloud. Like, what? I can't find the nexus. I can't, like, in my mind, I cannot find what potential nexus would exist. Because it can't be anything other than McClelland saying, "I want to find out if Baldwin ordered this. I want to find out if this is Baldwin shit." Like, that's the whole, like, there is no other investigation that's necessary for the charge itself. It could only have been him trying to sniff out whether or not there existed anything in text form where Baldwin is saying, "Hey, all right, man, listen, I want to be on the phone in my office, bro. All right, you're going to do a pop-in. All right, because you're over at your girl's house, and my office is right down the street here. You're gonna do a pop-in. I'm gonna be real busy on the phone, right? And then you're gonna slip into the office, bro, and you're gonna take some shots. You're not gonna tell me about it, obviously. You're gonna creep out. You're gonna say, "Hey, Andy, I'll talk to you later, brother. Hey, man, all right, I'll take care, brother." You're gonna go. You're gonna go to your crib, and you're gonna send it out to just a few people, but a few people that that will get these things out to the world. I mean, like, that's clearly what McClellan was looking for. Obviously. What else could it be? We know what the source was. We know it was Mitch that took the pictures. What other possible thing could he have been looking for? And that has not, like, the only argument from the side of the state, again, takes Nick out of the picture.
Yep.
And it leaves the prosecutor of the county that it's in to say, well, I had to make sure that he was, in fact, not authorized. And the only way that I could do that was to check his text messages between him and Andrew Baldwin. But that doesn't involve Nick McClelland. Nick McClelland has no business getting into that shit.
No, it was intentional. He wanted that information. He needed to know what he knew and what he was saying. And this was a prime opportunity for him to try to get access to it.
Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like, oh man, it's a mess. It's such a mess.
Well, at least we have the weekend, so we know that we won't hear anything till Monday. You got a couple days.
Thank
Couple
God.
days of rest.
We have tonight. We have tomorrow. Yeah. Where the hell did Sleuthie go? She just like I come on and she vanishes.
She said she's in chat right now. She said she had to go call her mom back.
I see her little face still there on the picture. Isn't that her?
She's right there.
Yeah, I know. All right, man.
Thank you
I
for
love
popping
you.
up, though.
Of course.
You know, you're my favorite, so I appreciate
love
you,
you
and I
too.
always appreciate your insight and your help in taking my long-windedness and just putting it into a very simple.
I love you. I think you're awesome. You're one of my absolute ride or dies. You know that.
Absolutely, right back at you.
All right, girl. You have a wonderful weekend.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks. Thanks for hanging with us for so long. Thanks for listening to me just windbag for an hour and a half. I'll talk to you
We
later.
appreciate it.
All right.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
And to you guys in chat, once again, I thank you guys for being here and thank you guys for hanging out with me on Friday night. And I appreciate each and every single one of you. You know that I know there's 1,000 other places that you guys could be, and you choose to spend your time here with me. So I just want you to know that you are absolutely appreciated. And I will see you sometime this weekend as we go over the Harmony Montgomery case that the trial is starting for next week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.